What are you waiting for in an unhappy man? So the trust never exists in him? Where to do anything for whom? I stood up, screamed, and punched the bullies in the face. After defeating them, he hid his face behind the hood. Loneliness is his only ally. On January 1st, 2020, the whole world suddenly turned into a game of prison rising everywhere, and from there, the monsters spilled like floods. The destroyed cities were slaughtered, the pile of piles on the streets. With the appearance of monsters, the divine entities called Tin Van also appear. Those large, sparkling entities will give a small part of humanity, especially called privileges. And the people who receive the privilege will wake up the player. The system is currently awakening players. It is thought that those people will rescue the world from this disaster, but the players take advantage of the current chaotic situation to satisfy themselves, and thus the hope of mankind gradually waited for the genocide day. But for him, there is no difference. He still cannot believe anyone in this world as before. I especially, until he met him, a blonde wearing armor, looked like a warrior. He is Lee Si-jun with an attractive heroic appearance. As the strongest one of the first 7 players, one of the holy people who chose the strongest player in the current world. He always protects the weak from the monster without gratitude. When he pulled out the sword, it will be to destroy the bad guys to protect the world. The monsters are always destroyed easily. He said after killing the last boss, then we'll put an end to this damn game. And so this world will be liberated. His words left him an impression. The Saving Association is founded. One of the hero who began to focus around Se-jun with the same purpose of rescuing the British world also joined. And it was the first time. He fought with everyone. Let's destroy all the monsters. The first time he met the teammates he trusted and joined with them. Se-jun is a good leader, and he believed him. If it is with them, everyone gathered after each victory around the fire. Together with them, he thinks he can change this world. At that time, he told Se-jun the leader now only one last battle while they were approaching the big door. Se-jun said the last battle. The end is the best. At least for Mr. Kim Woo-jin. Woo-jin suddenly turned around. At this time, he pulled out the sword. Without hesitation, he passed through him and praised him for doing very well. Without a part of his merits, he wouldn't be able to come here. Woo-jin fell down. The notice system he has had a Balmung curse of all defense resistance for 90 minutes. You are trying to be so you. I thought that from the beginning, why did you ask? Why did you do that? At this time there was a girl who walked out why he still didn't understand. She said everything would disappear when the game ended, all the prisoners of the monster bunker that they accumulated. That way there will be no reason that people have to obey them anymore. He gritted his teeth to call her name, Park Shin-hye, so why not we don't? Dominate that world. Hearing them say that made him crazy. These fake mass class people, he screamed Lee Si-jun. Poison has spread to the entire body of Woo-jin with blood. Blood clung to the floor to poison. Shin-hye said it must use Balmung to work. It is true that the other names are enough for each poison to be enough. Surprisingly, others. Could it be that the heroes have followed before? He gripped his fists tightly, trusted you, and contributed to rescue the world of teammates who were risky. And you kill them just because they hinder your evil purpose. She laughed right then smart. The name of the dragon hunter named John Georg. The king of his body has contributed greatly when handling them. They left so that we can now freely rule the world. He continued to scream Lee Si-jun's name. Lee Si-jun. The bastard Lee Si-jun. They left him to leave. Damn it, is left alone here. Woo-jin fell, so in the end he could not believe his father and son. He lay on the floor and he died like that. Game starting system. Today is the Aiju Day. It seems that the number of monsters appearing on the road is more and more often. Or why not complain? So that we have money. Damn. We risked their lives on the battlefield so much that they were still too few of them about to get out of the tunnel. The car seemed to carry troops from the tunnel. Woo-jin woke up startled. What is this? Isn't he crashed with Balmung? I am dead, surrounded as a dream army. Everyone is still laughing. Wait, this place is... The driver suddenly kicked over urgently. The car is urgent to win. He's scared to look earlier. A bunch of green monsters smashed a few cars and was blocking the way. He hit the emergency car in the front was a swarm of orcs quickly holding the weapon out. They hold the gun quickly from the car. An orc now pays attention. So a bunch rushed. The driver only dared to tremble quickly. Oh, listen, we do not have many bullets, so we only pulled the trigger after we have been carefully seen. There is the sound of the gun out there. An orc was shot back. Kim Woo-jin holds a guanman in the surprise of everyone. The remaining orc continues to attack. Wu Jin calmly fired. They each played at the beginning of two monsters. The shell falls on the ground. Another orc approached and intended to increase interaction with him with a short stick it held in his hand, but he jumped away and dodged. Immediately bring the gun barrel toward it, and he opened fire. A glimpse of the monsters has been lowered, only one. It was scared to turn to run away, but it was not unavoidable with his shot. Surprisingly, what his teammates around him, he was alone. Wu Jin looks like a dream, but this feeling to him is too true. The captain walked towards him. Call his name Kim Wu Jin. He scolded him, crazy, how dare be rushed like that, huh? While he was still busy thinking this was not a dream, he ignored the captain, seemed to have returned to the past. The captain was angry at others. He had to answer this bastard. What's wrong with it? Wu Jin sat by the car. He hugged his head to think, those two Lee Sejun Park Sin-he. Suddenly he saw, the system displays and informs you that you are a player. The privilege selection table appears. It is true that today is the day when he wakes up the player, but not like in the past. There are three options. Drilling Messenger of Hell. The Messenger of Hell is capable of using many types of poison and curse. Using resources is the owner of the privilege of this privilege that can create a demon army. Unlike other privileges, its power is almost universal. The player began to monopolize all types of Johann Georg, or called the Immortal King. One of the strongest players possesses the privilege of Hell Ambassador with a terrible power. If Lee Sejun is a hero, he will be the Demon King. And he to defeat that Demon King, having studied and analyzed his privileges, but now he will become a Demon King. He smiled. And will hunt the name Lee Sejun. The association is a collection of players to share benefits with each other. Among them, the Phoenix Association does not give up all tricks to acquire power and money to become the second strongest in Korea. Overcoming the metamorphosis of the Great Phoenix Association of the Salvation Association shines more than ever. At the headquarters of Phone Hoeing Association, this is the contract of the Phone Hoeing Association. Every time the successful conquest of the rights will increase the man sitting in front of him. Wu Jin thought at first it was not enough to buy medicine. He said, now I have to prove how a player is. There is no way for others to see the status window right. He took out something on the table. This is the skill of the priest's messenger to choose one and tear it if you are a player. Then he saw it. That paper is poisoning skills. Unexpectedly, he could be here. The player's blood turns into a poisonous skill that is extremely difficult to prevent. An extremely simple skill, but with blood golem skills, the power will be much greater than extremely useful. He took the paper and tore it up. I will take this. The British became glowing at that time he received poisonous skills. The superhero group talked why Wu Jin was chosen to go to the monster. Oh, my short hair wondered that the privilege of the photo didn't suit those things. The bald head explained that because in the association his temper was the most excited. Just go with him for a while to know how bad he is. The enemy came and someone shouted. The four of them prepared to fight. Wu Jin is reminisced. He died and was reborn again, like a dream. So he returned to the past, so they would be alive, not knowing if he could see it again. Gwanmun Sports Park. The man greeted the park right away. Everyone came early. The girl tilted her head to say today was our first day, but just listened to Jessup's words, right. The man's name said this was his fourth trip and followed him. But there is another person. There is a car engine that makes them pay attention. An old black car is coming. The annoying blonde today is the first time he has been late for this new soldier to be educated. Wu Jin left the car. The girl agrees that he should be grateful because they are put in the group, but also what the car is torn. The name for the two roofs to smile and look at him sometimes, even enough to request to submit to the association. Probably the first time, so I have to try to survive first. They ignored him and left before the bald head said that they were missing someone anyway. He bought a new weapon anyway. Wu Jin quietly followed. The meeting that ends here. What I do not mention is not very important. Just remember clearly the condition that is completed on the screen display. And that's all the man who sweats. If anyone has any questions or want to give up, please say now, if not, please embellish equipment. Each of them laughed and said it. Wu Jin, sitting silently without anyone who knows his face. Should be the need to care about them? And now preparing to enter the prison bunker opened. The girl exclaimed for the first time to come, almost like this. He said that he was much more spectacular. The girl walked through the door of the dungeon. Wu Jin followed and was the last. Wow, she exclaimed at the surrounding scenery. A sunny forest is like a completely different world, like just entered a virtual reality game. The baldness of this is not the game, but the reality. He told everyone to be alert because there was only one life. Jin looks around the nail scene on the trunk and guesses that the enemy will be quite crowded. The bald head approached and asked him if he was Jin. He said he was when they set up the tent and he could go around. He agreed immediately to let him go. I thought he would cling to them, but not. He doesn't even know the most dangerous reconnaissance. Any preparation for hunting all items will be theirs. Jin knows they want to use him as a bait, but this dad knows the redundant. At the headquarters of the Salvation Association, Shinhai asked everyone if everyone was full. Now she will introduce a new member to participate in this mission. New member. One person opened. Ji-hoo, member of the association, clicked, so that old man was really arrogant. The one who just entered the introduction was happy to meet everyone, Suzuki Eichi. A lot of characters are sitting here, so he would like to ignore the introduction, this guy. Lee Si-jun replied, very happy to see my grandfather Lee Si-jun. He asked what he would do from now on. A person in the table of the table. This bastard dared to talk to the leader like that. He glanced at him, the leader of why he brought this guy here. The best damn is that each asks why the scoop. Is his attitude not okay or still hiding him? From the last time, Yang Ji-hoo got angry with the bastard today, he was dead. Enough, and then stop. Si-jun glanced at him, seeing that the big guy sat down to damn it without a problem. Then one day we will handle it beautifully. Hello is enough. Hello is enough. Shinhai asked about how long she had to say last time. If you only find the location of the material, it is 3 days. Si-jun asked for 3 days is not bad. Now in the forest, Jin is busy watching the traces of the goblins. Seems to rumors that he heard about this prison is real. Hung seems to rumors that he heard about this prison bunker is real. All traces are information that will help him survive in the trunk of the information, but to increase the survival rate. Not just stronger than why he said. No matter how strong he is, he will definitely have weaknesses. He was Suzuki Eichi at that time, thinking that he was just teaching him unexpectedly as a warning about the Salvation Association. He is not only a cold-blooded murderer but also a loyal hunting dog of the association. But it's okay that knowledge will now be a stick to beat his back. A stone from where thrown to Jin quickly avoid. The 3 goblins appeared in front of his eyes that made him nostalgic. He opened the control to get the weapon as a short knife. Come to the 7-story docks. Now I am going to forget how many goblins, and now bothering you guys to try a little bit of my poisonous blood. A goblin holding a baton. Come to it to kill it. He slipped over to avoid, then use his poisonous dagger to stab the goblin. Love is suffering from effects from skill. It was angry. Respond to him a blow. I think it has been involved in the effect, and still normal it seems that it is not very effective. Another lover jumped up to attack, but still missing. He turned the dagger. Throw it straight at its head. The goblin? Their attacks are quite easy to guess, so it is not difficult to handle. But now that he takes the more time, the more they will pull to the crowded. He opened the control panel to get more weapons. This time, the weapon is a long whip of the goblin leader who has been activated. The fear index of the goblin increases. Luckily, he prepared this weapon. At this time, the other 4 are still looking for items in the forest. There is something that comes from behind. Make the girl pay attention to turn. Is an ugly goblin rushing to them. She shouted loudly to support the support when a one rushed to attack. Some blood shot out. She opened her eyes and saw the blood at her feet. As the bald head, he lowered his goblin to help her say what I did. Don't be afraid of the goblin. She shed tears at him with the other 2, then praised Joseop Op. In any concentration, there is nothing to be afraid of. Lucky that he has prepared a sword. If it is, then the goblin is like cutting the meat. Joseop displayed. Why can't you lift the sword like this? A goblin dancing to beat his head. He bled to the ground. Big brother Joseph up. He tried to get up but could not. Help me go. Don't stand there like that fool like that. The 2 boys closed their eyes and closed their nose to attack the floods. A goblin on this side was whipped. It was injured and fell. Jin laughed. And the remaining advantage also because of fear of running away. But he did not forgive it. The whip wrapped around its neck, tightened it to make it unable to breathe. It collapsed on the knees. Jin's level has increased. The messenger of hell has noticed that you received the title of the person who was noticed lower than he thought, just like this and have been noticed. Only a few stupid guys go to swinging heavy swords. A whip is more than enough for the goblins. It takes time in this real prison. Meanwhile, the 3 new soldiers have just escaped from the other goblin. I think that the new soldier is that. Yusong said that now he has not seen it, it must be dead. The new soldier has an extra person to help him and listen to him, so he became like this. That's right, I told us. At this time, the sound of the goblin appeared, so the people they hurriedly alert. Wu Jin was promoted again because he got a bunch of goblins again. Hill Messenger highly appreciated his ability to receive warrior skills. He opened the list to see the soldiers. Why did you have this? John Georg Immortal King can control an immortal army as easily as his hand is one of his strongest skills. However, that is also a critical point to help us to catch him. The main problem is that only the monsters are killed by the user can make a critical weakness. But still helping him save time, he received the skill of warriors using a corpse killed by you to make sacrifices. There is something to distract the direction the hunting is much easier. He chose the body of a goblin to try activating skills. The flesh of that goblin is sucked up. Leave a set of remains. The two sets gradually stood up. He thought silently. The gaze of this skeletal skeleton makes you like it. Wu Jin is standing back to the corner of the tree to see how he controls the business. Is not as expected. Because the magic index is still low. The core turned to look at him. He approached his head and was still weak and could not be used as the main damage. But by the way, the bone is all players. We know how to choose toys. Whether you are goblins or dragon, all have one thing in common, that they exist to destroy humans, incentives for new soldiers only in the game. That's why he doesn't need to hold back with them. It was dark, and the other 4 people sat down by the fire. You see how bitter is just a lot of goblins. The other girl kept sitting and crying. What should we do now? He said, I thought we were too subjective. They can't die like this. Die in the hands of the star goblin. Can't die like this, Mr. Seob. Ju Seob encouraged the kids, but it was very tight. But the whole group could not die like this. It's not just what you say. The blonde name pointed to his head on his head. The upgraded sequence appears. How to sit on the rest of the crowd like this. The only reason when standing still to level is that there is a member of the team fighting. That means that new soldier is still alive. Wu Jin is now holding a light torch. He and the core came to the cave according to his experience, the most effective way to kill the goblin. It is like this. He sparked fire into the cave door to block the wooden bars. Displaying the cave door exploded. Black smoke rises. The goblin inside the sniffing cave. They immediately pay attention to seeing black smoke flying in, so they pointed to each other. The black smoke almost made them suffocate. Some goblins have collapsed. They almost discovered something. Pull each other to the exit. The door of the cave is burnt. Wu Jin noticed a static movement. The goblin frantically crossed the cave in the fire. The fire burned them, but they did not stop. He looked at the stupid bunch of them. By the way, the cremation ceremony for the other players, the goblins kept dead. The whole forest is suspicious of red fire. The messenger of hell is very satisfied with his cruelty. Everything is just a pile of ashes. I feel strange, just thought it was like this, it had to come out. It is uncomfortable or it hides elsewhere. The shadow of something big appears dim. His core immediately noticed. A huge goblin now emits from the ground. Wow, style skeleton is so big. The goblin snorted. Wu Jin holds the whip really. Just in time, he starts to feel bored with this place. Then it carried the body like this, making me very grateful. The leader of the goblin? Before the Salvation Association intervened, many new soldiers were killed in this dungeon. And the reason for these things is the goblin leader. The newly awakened people led to the prison bunker with a goblin leader who hides another monster to drink tea with death. Wu Jin pulled out a sword, however. From now on, there will be no more victims. Small skeleton now looks to him. It starts to walk. He noticed its move. Seeing it go ahead, I was curious about going first. The skeleton turned to look at him. That gaze is satisfied here. Its expression seems to have changed. He ceded the sword to the core, it holding the sword in the face of the goblin in front of him. The goblin looks at him, growl. Small skeleton does not hesitate. Hold the sword to attack. The goblin leader is also surprising. The skeleton quickly circled back. Slash one behind the feet of the monster. Wu Jin suddenly style is. He secretly remembered his battle when first with a giant monster. Everyone is scared of what they think and tells us to hunt for this. He proposed to focus on his legs. Making it balanced is their chances of winning. After saying that, he shouted at his feet. Just keep so many times. That way of movement is definitely... Small skeleton seems to want to attack again. Continue the next round of the monster. Its fighting style, the same as Wu Jin, still know that the power of the core warrior will depend on the magic index. But unexpectedly, it can also copy the battle style of the owner. He told him before returning to the past, he used to use almost all types of weapons that existed in this world. Even in the Saving Association, Very few people can match him directly with him, if it really copies his fighting skills. Only have to change the plan. He opened the system window to see. There is something that appears. Hill Messenger congratulates your bright achievements and gives you some legendary skills. Legendary class. It is true that I accidentally encountered dollars. On this side, they announce the conquest of the dungeon. What? The man of the association in the afternoon running out of the situation. The door of the dungeon now opens. The players have returned. That means that dungeon was conquered in a day. Siab was reincarnated to congratulate them because they returned peacefully. But he wondered why there were only 4 people and Kim Woo-jin. The 4 of them were silent. Oh, I understand that, Mr. Kim Woo-jin. At this time, there were more people from the dungeon. The whole crowd of them pointed to that side. Kim Woo-jin walked out of the dungeon. Is Kim Woo-jin? They look at the appearance after returning without any scratches. He chased after Woo-jin-ju Siab, asking that the bastard was still alive. What kind of prison was he? How does that coffee name... Who is he actually? The press published the world economic degradation for 4 consecutive years of the union of players who require an increase in the reward to destroy the prison bunker to 30 minutes to issue a special law to freeze 10 ph of the income tax of the player. We will have to continue listening to the requirements of the star player. The reporter mentioned on the ambitious screen of the growing players, this is the result of giving a certain power player because only they can permanently close the hell. But the Korean Saving Association does not require any reward for a 5-story dungeon. People stirred news that Lee Si-jun saved the world again. Along with the successful conquest of the first 5-story dungeon, the share of the sponsor of the Han Sung Group has soared. The bastards of the Saving Association, all newsletters are brought back to them. USB frustrated, and they are considered as a trash that only knows what to pay attention to. The blonde asked for the convenience of the dungeon this time. Don't remind him anymore because Kim Woo-jin and they all died. He pointed to the wound and his head was due to that clumsy bastard. So the rumor is real. He just hugged his face and became a player who wanted to plunge into the search for items and confronted a goblin. So Joseop had to rush in to save him, so it became like this, whatever he had. What's so? Why not inform them to punish him? It's okay to see if this time unfortunately go. You must be very stuck, not dare to report my father. No matter how much money you need, it doesn't need to be that. But the blonde says, it can't be left like this. Kim Woo-jin is now planning his own. This time he was not proactive in contact with Sejun. You need to strengthen as much as possible before he pays attention to him. You should start from the end of all relationships related to him. At the headquarters of the Phoenix Association, the hunter orc, perhaps he wanted to justify the rumors that were spreading recently. Woo-jin, in response to rumors, he did not know about rumors that he was just needing money. The man and the strawberry look at him for money. He told him that his life was important, but without the network, what money did. If you need money so urgently, we can lend him with his arms and say, no need to arrange the other day for the rest. There is no need to take care of it. Seems that there are rumors that speak badly him, but so the better he can act alone. Seems like rumors about Mr. Kim Woo-jin are just rumors. But he doesn't know how his position he wants to enter. John Yong-gu's team lift the team of John Yong-gu, and since then, there has been no more request. Who is John Yong-gu? So he is the emerging star of the Park Yong-wan. They have to handle why this is demanding to enter the prison bunker, that the emerging star of the park. This new soldier will not just die, but also do not know, so let's allow to go. Woo-jin smiled to kill hero first. Must have to shake hands with new villains. Yongwan Park of Luncheon City. Is Kim Woo-jin right? You really come alone. He did not answer, so he thought that they said he was a bad money, so he certainly could not invite anyone. So invite you to this side of the entrance there? I am really crazy about this guy if he died or not. It was not his job. The door of the dungeon opened. Woo-jin looks at the information window. Orc hunters are 3 difficult levels of C. The task of destroying orc hunters. This is definitely too much for him at the current level. However, if you use an orc body to summon warriors, it will be different from foam right away. Nothing a large orc has come from to attack him. He quickly slipped through his feet. Hands on. Slash a beautiful sword. Although it is only a regular orc, he only slashed a few scratches. Orc pulled the wooden baton on the ground. Moreover, with its power, a dam would probably be crushed. But if he could kill this guy and then summon the warrior of the remains, then clean this dungeon completely feasible. Woo-jin continues to move again. Orc glared at him. It pounded hard at the place he had just stood. A crushed stone caused the face to be scratched. Woojin backwards. He focused on its scratches earlier. Closed the wound, he slashed a few more times. The ORC is big, so I can't keep up with your speed. After the attack, he jumped out to keep the distance with it. Orc is ignorant who doesn't know what he is going to do. Only see on his feet at this time the wounds have gotten blood. A predator that lost their legs. Orc lying on the ground. It is no longer a hunter. Woojin lowered a sword to finish it. Two strangers sat in the room. Interesting, then, he said. The opposite guy asked what he was watching for a while. Now don't say he calculated to find some weird things about selling. He smirked. Give me a base here? You are curious? Then see this one. White-haired name glanced at. What is this Woojin's profile? A new soldier has just awakened for a long time to clean up a dungeon. It seems that it was his second prison bunker and he came alone from the beginning with a man who just awakened it. Didn't he have to overdose? It is impossible to hear the fictional virtual ghost even at the beginning, but the big brother told me to believe this tabloid. He doesn't look like a person who is easily fooled. What is the short-haired girl to the report of your sister's report? He was so embarrassed that this is a report from the Secretary of Lee, how perfect she is. So perfect. Where is this quality information? She herself collected all that. If it is information collected by Secretary Lee, it will be trusted 100 minutes. And if we do not believe in Secretary who suddenly saw the man who saw a bunch of coffee wrapped on the table, how many times did you say not to buy instant coffee? Why don't you answer that? The girl took a sip of coffee. Secretary Lee Buttery brought this bunch from the time they came to the Phoenix Association, and this report was used to use recycled paper. He laughed in the summer and recognized as the most delicious coffee. His head glowed right in this world without believing that Secretary can believe anyone else. The white-haired guy looked at the wholesale shelf, so he was so old. The last cup of coffee? By the way, a few are quite good, but the price is too high, so she is still considering buying the hell, huh? The big brother and the last prisoner he earned. His eyes sparkling what he said. What about each of them? He panicked what he had. Just come to the dungeon from the day yesterday. Big brother said that if people leave for too long, it will be lazy. He is also thinking for you, this old man. Secretary Lee sighed again. An orc looks painful. They are rushing to fight the skeleton of the teammates. Yet that skeleton also flew. Woojin knows the low average due to the low level of skill level. He jumped down from the body of the orc. From the name King Immortal John Georg in his previous life, he also learned something. His hand glowed. The orc children pay attention to look. Having summoned a warrior of a large bone hand appeared. Is another skeleton of orc? As long as he still has magic power, how many corpses have? I am that there are so many warriors. The orcs are facing out. They booed but must not be in time. The British newspaper system has granted all capacity increased to poisoning to level 2. So that spicy in this prison bunker is not very effective. So I go to find the name of the orc hunter rather than the melon with this crowd. He thought that a hunting animal is probably hard to be the leader of a certain. That means he will always go alone, and the only remaining place. His skeleton looked over and asked what he looked. It looks like that means knowing what. Probably not anyway, the orc hunter may be in. If that is, there will be no other monster to make the only sacrifice you have. The two left and had to plan another plan. A sharp canine tooth growled. The crows are scared to fly away. An orc is dragging his teammate. His face was injured, but the eyes were glowed with the killing intent. It was mercilessly dragged away. Woojin hid behind a rock. A boss always possesses superior strength compared to ordinary children, with a few new fools who broke in without a clear plan of his hand, preparing a bow and arrow. However, if he got the arrow, he was poisoned with this blood. He looked at the core warrior and signaled it. It holds the sword standing opposite to the coming orc hunter. The other guy turned his head because he saw it. It opened her mouth to show off her fangs. Then do not hesitate to rush. The warrior of HAI Co. also rushed to it. It takes it to slash. Both clashes. Orc hunter seems frustrated. Using tooth always bite a bone of the core warrior. While both struggled from Woojin, the blood, colored eyes that identify it is the one who hunts. And is the goal to shoot if you want to avoid thick skin. That is its only weakness. The arrow rushes to close directly into blood-red eyes. Orc hunter is lost balance. It quickly remained, hold your own arrow on the eyes, then pull it straight to throw away. Its eye was injured. The weaker the orc has, the weaker the body, the faster the poison spread. It shouted in pain. Due to the effectiveness of Orc's thrilling blood poisoning, it will constantly decline. It starts to find it wrong, then bowed one leg to poisoning level 2 without high fatality. But creating an advantage like this can still do it. Heiko warriors finish, and that's enough. Note that you have defeated the orc hunter who conquered the dungeon and granted up to return after an hour. The body of the orc hunter is inside the category of the fellow. It seems that it has eaten everything to prevent the way to know the name of the Park Yong Ocean faction is here. There is something. This is a human skeleton. The wound on it cannot be caused by orc. According to the trace, this name was attacked from behind and by a person who was used to murder. If killing is intentional or not, it is still unclear, but if it belongs to the Park Yong faction of the Phone Hoeing Association, it will not be difficult to guess. There is not much time left in here to find traces of that guy in this. Wu Jin walked around to find something to be close to the Yongwan Institute's side. It was good to have something to glow in the cave. Oh, there is a cave. The entrance is only wide enough for one person to get in. A human skeleton is hugging the sword in it. The weapon is still clean and the body is still quite intact compared to the people out there. While his teammates were eaten out there, he fled alone and counted the days of waiting for death here. Pretty suitable for the Phoenix Association U and the badge on the cloak. Especially with the emerging star of Park Yong-wan, there is no more suitable place. A book falls. What do you pay attention to here? Wu Jin with the book. Is a diary? It seems nothing important. His eyes suddenly changed. This is the blacklist of the Park Yong-wan faction. Suddenly grabbed this. His lucky index is high, but this will be used in the block. The notice appears to the messenger to congratulate your bright achievement and give a gift as a legendary skill book. Kim Wu Jin delighted in the legendary level, and it was right. The skill card named Anubis's Eye, accompanied by the condition of ownership, must be the messenger of hell, requiring a level or more of its effect, so that the owner can glance at the memory of the dead. The ability to look at the memories of the dead, Kim Wu Jin smiled and said. Soon after, he immediately tore the card to absorb the skill. He happily said that it seems that the previous life, who sucked out all my luck, now has to vomit. The announcement once again pays attention that you have received the eye skills of Anubis. You have received the legendary air achievement. It is still said that the dead did not know how to tell the story of Kim Wu Jin, and then proceed to the corpse in the cave to test Anubis's eye skills. He touched his hands to touch the head of the corpse, and then said, but that was now the past. He smiled sinister and used his skills. His eyes began to turn light blue with black smoke that was swept into his eyes, with a blue fire began to appear in the pupils of Kim Wu Jin. After a while, the fire burned more violently than it as if he wanted to escape from his eyes. The window appears a notice of skill that has been using the eyes of Anubis is opened. A fierce light escaped from Kim Wu Jin's eyes, shot directly at the two empty eyes of the corpse. From the cave radiating a white light that makes the whole skeleton also have to look at. The memories of the corpse gradually appeared while fighting the orc, to the moment his teammates screamed for help Yonggu to save with. Before the resonance, he turned his head to run away from his teammates to hide into the cave. He only knew how to hug his head in fear. He could not die here. What he could tell himself. The memories continued to appear alternately. The human body is the next images Kim Wu Jin witnessed in the memory of this scum. This is a crime from the victim of the hunt to try to prevent the action of the name Yonggu. But he was arrogantly said that he couldn't help him with his back, and his victim began to confuse him that he was before the ill-fated victim could continue to say the name Yonggu had raised the sword to prepare to slash down. The victim realized that his name Yonggu mentioned that he would become the owner of the Phone Hoeing Association one day not far away. That man was Park Yong-wan. The black smoke began to return to the eyes of Kim Wu Jin. He pushed the skull away. British lighting with skulls has been cut off. The skull dropped one to the ground to be cancelled. Kim Wu Jin collapsed to the ground painfully to cover his eyes with his left hand. He slowly opened his eyes to reveal his white pupils seemed to be more or less influenced by Anubis's eye skills. It is the memory of the dead, he gasped and thought in his head, to look at the past of the dead. It was not very comfortable, but it also took more magic than I thought, and looked at the skull, he thought. Preparation is done if you know how to take advantage of the memory of this name, and the list to approach him no matter how carefully the person is not a problem. Outside the dungeon, at a mansion somewhere, I see a man's bloody fist. You let other players attack that prison boss? Why, the boss of the black clothes asked him to wear blue clothes to collapse on the floor. The name of the blue shirt lifted my head and started to apologize to me, and I was wrong in case I would definitely handle that name. The boss sitting behind him asked him to wear blue shirts to handle the whole hell, but the new name alone stormed into you and could not do anything. In a way, he switched to asking the blonde secretary, "You still want to say more?" "Secretary. Secretary Kim." The secretary bowed and apologized to me. I would immediately handle the blue shirt behind the tragic shouting, "Please don't kill me. Please give me another chance." The boss's subordinates began to pull the blue shirt out of the room in the newspaper of the boss, who brought the news about the bidding competition of the associations winning the NCR. The door closed. The new one alone resolves the hell. It seems that this guy's power is quite good, even though it is not a big deal. The boss read the newspaper and said in the newspaper, the news that Korea handled the hell, A+ a level 20. But there is something. The reputation of that friend in the guild is not good. The stars. He asks the secretary. She replies. The secretary began to recount the process of overcoming Kim Woo-jin's hell in the first dungeon. He was alienated with his members who had rumors that he alone monopolized all rewards, but this has not been verified. Actually ignoring the doubts. If his reputation in the association like that, he could not just act alone by the boss. Suddenly there was a call to the boss, who put his hand to answer the other side of the newspaper, that a man named Kim Woo-jin came to find him to see you. The boss heard that, laughed and chanted. He took himself into the lobster. Why is this kid's very interesting? Going to another office, a man said that in the bidding for a 1 layer of a name, A+, this time, the Phoenix Association, we have been set a total of 20 of this arrangement. This time is relatively good for the associations. But that, at present, the 3 factions, including Park Yong-won's faction, are having a fierce spiritual battle to regain those 2 dunes. He continued to say that the biggest problem was that even though they were divided equally for each 6 faction, there were 2 prison bunkers who had to be divided among who. There are 3 factions, but only the leftovers of 2 prisoners have a lot of headaches. His headache, he spoke up, his bangs were diagonally, so he could not agree until now. Because if it is a picnic, the ability to receive rare items is quite high, and a 1-floor prison bunker, the more likely the chance is higher. Nobody will give to anyone eligible for their ability to know in advance in the dungeon in the prison. Hair is a headache that he balled the tie and cries. But no individual does not belong to any faction voluntarily in those 2 docks. Why did he ask Mr. Cross? Roof, in response to now. That's right. No one would dare to enter without any faction who knows what happens in the dungeon. The bald man was depressed. Suddenly the phone rang, reporting a call from Mr. Park Yong-won. The Roof of the Cross suddenly thought that in Park Yong-won's mind the situation was very confusing, but called what he had to stretch out to pick up the phone. Just the phone voltage in his ears, Mr. Bat took clearly his unexpected expression. He stood up and uttered Kim Woo-jin what he wanted to say. The cross-roofed Roof was also surprised when I heard the name Kim Woo-jin first understand, and then I will contact him back to the name of Park Yong-won. What is the chairman, in the end? Mr. Ko crossed him back to respond to him and asked to give Kim Woo-jin one of the remaining 2 docks that do not let other factions know. Kim Woo-jin is a bad rumor and always acts alone and tells that other factions will not let much to him. He is so cold, sweaty, and said, "If so, now Kim Woo-jin has joined Park Yong-won's faction, and then why did he ask that? How could he know that he did not know how to use him for this prison, and used as a chess piece? If so, there is another prison bunker. Then if so, maybe the factions will compete for the remaining prison bunker. He lost his roof. If he handed it to Kim Woo-jin to a dock, the Park Yong-won side would not have to scramble. Then we just need to work with the other 2 factions to be answered by Mr. Bet." It was a great strategist that he did not expect him to prepare for the chess army, Kim Woo-jin. Sometimes he will debit this concession and will later reclaim the appropriate benefits. But again and again and again, Kim Woo-jin is what he has in the end, with Park Yong-won. Returning to the office of the name Park Yong-won, the secretary asked the owner, but could accept Kim Woo-jin's proposal. He answered that he took it and made the proposal, so we found it interesting at the same time as no name could be used. And above all, if such a person is finished, if we do not need it anymore, then throw it away. Like a chess pieces is finished. An hour ago you knew what this was, but brought here Park Yong-won took a notebook in your hand. Yes, I wanted to find out what I saw the content inside, and Kim Woo-jin answered that Park Yong-won continued to answer. So why did you come here to ask for money for you to keep this secret? He started smirking. Just with this. But can threaten Park Yong-won, I think, so. It was not intimidating that I came because I wanted to give a request, Kim Woo-jinny, to calmly answer. The one, Layer A plus dungeon, is becoming a hot topic recently. I want to attack this sentence. Park Yong-won's name is pounded out. He started laughing. Ha, this guy is hilarious. You know how that tunnel is, but dare to say that he changed to a serious face. Yes, I know that the prison bunkers that the majority of domestic associations, including the Phoenix Association and the Messiah Association, are, besides the decentralized prisoners, are always fierce competition to have more Kim Woo-jin in response. You know that and still planning to rush into that battlefield? Why did Park Yong-won ask? Then he kicked the book down on the table to continue to lose his mind. Good will I meet your requirements, but I also have a proposal to Park Yong-won in response, with a sinister face. At Kyungbu University, in the meeting room, Kim Woo-jin's shadow appeared in the last rows of seats. If we look at the content of the dungeon report, we all know that there are at least 1,000 orcs on the podium. On the information screen and the Orc A population, plus the number of floors. A boss orc, the task is to hunt for 1,000 orc and boss. Orc boss. The conditions for advance are lower. 20 people up to 150 people. Kim Woo-jin in the viewing corner. He thought that before he had not returned too much, the number of survivors in this attack was, although not remembering the correct number, but about 70 people, more than half of the players died. The players who are chosen for this position are all elite soldiers of the areas, if they consider this because of the match against any rational monsters. At that time, because there was not enough evidence, there was no other way. So I ignored this. Whatever the situation among the players who are likely to have a murder, because it is a good opportunity to reduce the number of competition and robbery. And in this section of this section, the reward for the people to destroy the brain monster boss is the fangs of Road Orc. The reward results belonging to the association with the most contribution, especially the Messiah Association. At that time, I did not know anything, but now I think about it. I don't know about that time from that time that the Wilder has been forgiven. Kim Woo-jin moved out of the meeting room. If behind that case was Lee Si-jun, the case would be due to the Messiah Association directly acting, and he thought in his mind, it is impossible to exclude the possibility that they have spy in other associations if based on their memories to guess their next action steps. Perhaps Kim Woo-jin goes outside. Standing in front of the gate, in addition to hundreds of players ready to come in there, were reporters continuously taking photos. Now the players are entering the prison bunker. A reporter shouts at the flash of light blinking from the member reporters of the big associations. The first is the Messiah Association, with 3 members of a hairy sister with a cool-headed man and an octopus head. Next is the Phoenix Association, with 4 members of a blonde boy with a pale pink-haired girl and a new boy. Next is the Hung Master, with the old gate, and the long-lasting assembly with the young boys. Before the sensitive shoots of the camera, Kim Woo-jin looked straight at the gate. He slowly entered. I think in the beginning of the Road Orc's fangs that you want to take to my hand will help you. In the gate of everyone. Everyone has gathered. Where is our chance? A female magician uttered the guy next to him so crowded it was hard to find it. He has a cool beard of the Messiah Association. The Messiah Association began to arrange a long line to follow him. Wow, is true, that Messiah considers them quickly putting on the other squad, a brother who exclaimed he was bald behind say, even if it comes from first, there is no difference with at least 100 brains that he stroked the horse's hair in the Phoenix Assembly. On the other side, a player shouted a giant blue monster appearing from the forest. The octopus head slowly walked to the big shield and said, The Messiah Association handle it. Everyone is alert. He immediately used the skills of the warrior and provoked the giant. The brain turns back, runs straight to where the octopus head was raising the shield. It descended a strong punch at the shield of his Q. The punch caused the Q to be pushed back in meters. The brain suddenly stopped halfway. The octopus head only smirked so much. Immediately, from behind the blonde girl, just finished reciting the mantra. The skill of holding the knowledge root is activated by the blonde sister from the ground to bud the roots of the brain. The roots began to sweep around the neck and tighten. Before the death, near the brain struggling to shout a loud voice, this scream echoes the forest. Immediately, the ground began to shake continuously. The surrounding players confused what is happening. The mustache immediately realized that the problem was not an earthquake in the back of the forest. The silence begins to cover all the players. They wait for what is getting closer to them. Everyone plays a position to be ready to fight at any time. Steaming straight from the forest, smashed the trees in front of hundreds of brains, coming like a herd of crazy cows after hearing the sound of the fellow. A swinging fist into a samurai. In the immediate bloodstains in the air, Mr. Samurai has slashed the ants on the arms of the brain of the players who also rush to fight. But just a swing of Samurai's hand flew straight to the sky. Other players were beaten to the ground. Immediately on the ground, the stone piles stabbed into the belly of the brain. The magicians standing behind have recited the mantra. It was now the person who wore a cluster of his head and chanted the players who rushed up like a storm. The warriors rushed up quickly. They worked together to handle the brain. On the top of Kim Woo-jin, looking down at the chaotic battlefield, he thought that he would disappear, and there was no one to pay attention to. Now I slowly act only Kim. Woo-jin smiled in a sinister, hands on the trunk, standing on a big tree branch from afar, observing the explosion that is happening nearby, thinking that the size of the bat is also paid with the Batman. We should take advantage of this opportunity to find the name of orc leader. Just that I just thought of. In my mind, I borrowed the height from the branch of the tree, standing quickly towards the explosion due to too strong force, leaving a bright white image on the branch. The goal of completion is to destroy the leader into 10,000 orcs, and the other bunch of sporadic people will let the associations will treat the orc usually before need to focus together to reduce casualties to the lowest possible and plan to soar in the night through the branches, then began to divide to find the leader. Until then, she thought Kim Woo-jin smirked to show everything that would happen as plans in the beginning. In the dense forest, the tall tree covers all the full moon with a glimmer, looking at the large trees to make the feeling of horror hard to describe. And this is also the area of orc sitting on the highest position that the moon illuminates half of the body, that is the orc leader on the sides. The remaining orcs that have stood through the neatly sides between two orcs that are kneeling as if they are guilty to the orc leader. They are also plugged in two extremely pitiful arrows next to the other large orc hold. And in the dark night, the leader of the orc clan emitted the growl with two bright eyes that made this orc scared. Under the great prestige of the orc's orc leader, the sweat was bored, but it was not only the blood of many orcs who were ready to execute. Before the order of the orc head, the head of the orc held straight, blocked the head of the orc. Definitely the other orc's head was thrown away, leaving only one body still kneeling. Coincidentally, its head is in the right position that the remaining orcs are standing, observing, making the rest of the names have to use themselves to be scared. Accordingly, to regain the spirit of the rest of the orc, the first piano patted the stone chair to create a rather jarring sound, then stand up upright, one hand into a fist, raised the edge as if it was signaling to launch the attack. His mouth has two big fangs, and then the full moon is powerful. Thousands of orcs are silent at the end of his roar. The ending roar is also the time when the orcs go to the direction to prepare for the battle with humanity. It was just that when I came to stand on the high stone on the head, they witnessed all this screen followed by the chaotic battle. The right name on the highest position is the leader of orc, with that tall body plus the axes with a huge size in his hand. Looks even stronger than we are estimated. But that. Unexpectedly, he gave all the soldiers the battle before we were lucky, and followed by the wins of each time making others chill. While the two sides are punching dust bags, the guy is sitting on his throne in a leisurely manner. Of course, now there is only us and this guy Kim Woo. Jin silently smirked and thought of our own chance. The conversion at the place where the two factions happened to punch the side of our faction has overwhelmed the orc, so the orc corpse lying on the body of a bad orc body is being stabbed down by the leader of the Salvation Association and trampling mercilessly, and then he is arrogant to cut his voice. It is only so then order continuing any military operations. The leader of the Salvation Association walking down and looked down at the orc he had destroyed and thought that in the number of orc here, not as much as we thought, perhaps the main force was elsewhere. Being pondered, there was a black shadow to him. That black shirt was not strange that his subordinates came to inform with the urgent face of the leader of an orc army who was going towards us. The leader of the leader was indifferent to respond about how many children. Seeing the leader asking his subordinates with the long scar on his face, he responded to an estimated 900 to 1,000 estimated number. That was all the number of orc in this. After hearing that subordinates say so, the leader who wants to assemble himself, because the orc number of the other side is too crowded today, we need more equipment to confront the orc army. Hearing the great shout of the leader of the lion leader who did not agree from afar to respond to this, what the hell is that he is ordered to order us, to order us? Then from the crowd, to face the cowardly leader on the other side of the hunting dogs of the Salvation Association, and then loudly, the voice of the history of our history will continue to advance the army. The other guy heard that the lion said that his face showed a lot of disdain in this direction, wearing the other words that the lion leader still called for people to wear competition between the associations. But now, if we do not cooperate, the other guy still tried to say that it would all be colored because of this hell. And now beside him there was only two people. One was his two subordinates with the scar on the face and the rest of the lion's side. The lion leader passed by him with a dark face, with a disdainful tone of the confidence that, if you were scared like that, I heard the name of the lion leader who was at the forefront of mocking him. Like that the subordinates followed and laughed in his face, the leader who has just been mocked. The dark face should not come here from the beginning. Watching the other people go deep into the forest while walking and laughing, two men staying and standing there and looking at them and spoke up with the crazy guys. Seeing the crowd who had gone out of the sight of the leader's name to speak to his subordinates now moving to that place safely and resting and preparing for the upcoming battle, back to the side of Kim Woo-jin, he summoned two tall skeets with big fangs, going to the front of the leader of orc when it comes to the first 100 meters away from the leader sitting there and the side of our side is ready to fight. It can plunge at any time. Kim Woo-jin has equipped with two dried bones with two long swords. The leader who saw that was dumbfounded and gasped as if he did not understand anything. The feeling of the danger of that guy standing up due to the oversized body with heavy weapons colliding on the ground is quite dazzling hands. And we, Kim Woo-jin and two skeletons, have been ready. According to our launch, the two skeletons began to advance to attack the progress of the two skeletons quite quickly, and they went first, and we would shoot the arrow. At this time, the leader who triggered the fangs of King Orc, the normal fangs were also useful while activating that name also emitted the growls. Two sets of skeletons from both sides are also the time when the fangs in front of the chest, the leader successfully activated the blinding light. Like putting the power of the leader. Then swing the first axe to slash the first skeleton, causing the skeleton into 100 small pieces. And we know that the name is strong, but not thinking that we will only know how to panic in the arms, in the hands, and also in the hands of that guy's actions. Without waiting for me to react, that guy continued to move the axe into the remaining skeleton to create a tinkling sound. The skeleton still rushed towards the leader of orc. That guy pounded down the axe, causing the smoke to blindly all the stones there due to strong strength and flying. In the skeleton appeared to tear at the smoke. Orc's name was surprised to look down. After dodging the attack, like the shape of the name of the skeleton returned to the counterattack. As for me, my face quickly raised the palace because it was not in my plan. On the nose there is still a little blood. I raised the palace to see the semi-dollar while both of them were struggling right now. Right when the remaining warrior attracted his attention. He is still holding the edge of Than continuously into the skeleton of the skeleton to take advantage of his body and dodge quite a lot of critical attacks. It is right now that I have shot the arrow as quickly as cutting the space. The name Orc came back to see that the arrow was almost his head, tilted his head to dodge to the side of the arrow rushing into his hair to create a big round hole, right in the beginning. It was good to know how much. He turned to look in the direction of me when I saw that I was very unexpectedly dodged, so that he was even stronger than the information that I heard was too disdainful already. While he was busy looking at me, the skeleton was quick to attack him. The skeleton sets out his legs to slash thousands as well as the ants only bite. Then the sword on the hand of the skeleton emitted a sprinkle. It broke it, making the skeleton surprise. I was also unexpectedly, and was surprised to be so surprised that the pupil relaxed. At that moment, he was up to the edge of the unexpected body, but moved extremely quickly and left the image, emitting a pounded skeleton into 8 pieces. The crumbling bones flying at my feet are troublesome. While rushing to think, so that means chasing the cowardly calories. That is also good. I smirked and satisfied. Maybe the truth is different from a communist tunnel, but it is good that we can rest assured. But run. Then Phi nourished through the big branches, and I secretly determined when I met many, I would regret it when I left. Coincidentally, when I was running away under the tree, was the crowd of the Lion Association of the Lion, who thought, in that guy, the face of the leader who frowned so that not only the Lion Association did not participate in the battle, the subordinates hiding in the root, next to the leader who knew that the name had found the leader of the orc before us, the other name may respond so that it may be, but may not be. Then the leader continued to say, there was no suggestion to guess whether he came back to find the leader of the orc or not. He did not know whether the leader's face was a little bit, and continued not to believe that his father and son, unless he saw it with his eyes. Items falling from the communist dungeon did not finish hearing a strange sound, but that name continued to say, must belong to the Lion Association at any price, the name of the leader's name transformed. The subordinates. Just now asked the leader's name was beaten down by something. Next, all his subordinates were collapsed. The face of the leader has no blood drop. After that, there was a standing in front of him and immediately collapsed right on the face of the leader, who was panicked and screamed. The leader was scared to hold the sword, trembling, but still trying to suffer what the battle of the hell I had never heard of. Will have a type of monster that not orc will appear here, but the leader of the leader awake. The sweat filled his head and shouted, whoever appeared, you would think that it would be safe. After that, there was only the long-lasting la-la of the leader of the leader. Here I have been able to go to the camp. I went through the group of people who were chanting the three around the fire. Walking and observing seems no one pays good attention to me. Then I continued to observe other groups, but what the atmosphere was like going on the funeral. After a few more steps, I understood the new class of new tombs. I have my eyes on the other side. That is not true. That only the sperms will come here and all are equipped with teeth, that the associations start to fight earlier than we expected. Then there was a person who spoke this, why did you look torn, in which the name of the blue shirt while walking and responding to the old man. There was a difference between the blonde name that heard, that laughed into another voice. The name of the blue shirt sat down to talk about our retirement festival, but still have any information about other associations. The blonde eyes closed and opened to answer. According to what we heard, it seems that the Lion Association is the heaviest damage to a group to go to the forest to collect things, but also lose always. The bald head sitting next to ask not just one or two people missing, so why the blonde answered that the body could have deformed so that it was no longer aware of it, and then continued. Then they gathered to talk and I just sat on one side. On the flames, there are people who ask questions that say that, but it is still too strange. The blonde sitting and talking if normal, and then continued. There must be a dead body somewhere, or run away, but then died because of the serious injury. But the bald head tilted completely over because of the same thought. He thought that, in the missing person, and someone survived. Among the people there are people who spoke. We should still keep the life before death. The genuine items do nothing right. I am sitting alone in a nearby corner. I can only listen silently, starting to think that it is a plus prison, so this can also happen. But many small groups have been destroyed. The whole army like this in a normal day at all. I am coldly in my face. Then it yourself is busy tomorrow. The sound of the birds crying out in a corner of the forest seemed to be afraid of something. The thing they fear is that the orcs, they are pulling troops to the forest. Talking about thousands of tens of thousands. Seeing the number of orc too many blue hairs scared to shout it, why is it so crowded? There are fearful names that they killed, and they still came to hear the fear in the voice of the other man who shook his mouth shut up and focused straight to go. Now our side and orc's side are only a few hundred meters apart. The ORC led on the other side grew up as if to give the other children to the side of the attack. The two sides rushed in to create a huge explosion outside. I stood under the canopy seeing the birds flying in addition to the explosion. I knew the battle began, then opened the system of the system. Hand-pressed to find weapons and then thought for ourselves. But this side is the problem. We cannot produce a fatal blow with the name Orc Leader with what we have. And using a warrior of the remains as a bait is not too fragile to remember last night, but the leader of the leader gently destroyed all two warriors. Suddenly flashed in his head and asked himself to say that he could remember the bin chain CAU, would he know how to shoot the arrow? Then summon the remains. Right now, I have come and faced the leader of Orc, different from last night today. I took the sword to attack, and the other two skeletons used to use the supply. Seeing it was still like yesterday, sitting like that without changing, I silently exclaimed today, and you still so comfortable. Now I am ready to fight and tell the leader of Orc then the second half. The name of the leader of Orc is still like last night, to activate the fangs of the King Orc before attacking. After activating, he stood up. Nothing has created an explosion. From that explosion jumped towards me and swung the axe. The teeth are wide open, eyes carrying the prestige anger. He really got angry with the arrow just now. He angrily looked at the two skeletons, swing the axe to the ground, causing the soil to break out directly in the direction of the two skeets. Running and continuing to shoot in the direction of the leader, he had to swing the axe continuously to avoid arrows. But the chance I flew up on the top of the leader, so the core warriors also knew how to use the bow and arrow. As planned and on this momentum, Kim Woo-jin jumped up and turned his body. He rushed to that giant green monster. He was as fast as a lightning bolt rushed down to the boss monster to the ground and had to shake and crack out of this terrible power. A moment of the necklace of the beast broke a shot. The thing hanging on its necklace and surrounded by gold is probably the ivory, or may also be the horn of a bad animal that is taken away. Kim Woo-jin caught the huge thing dangling on the neck of the boss green beast orc. The notice system you have received Boss Orc's fangs by getting the fangs of Boss Kim Woo-jin has increased significantly. Because of the loss of valuable things for themselves, the system constantly notifies the physical damage to Boss Orc's defense of Boss Orc's agility. Boss Orc decreases. The middle-class beast seemed to be frustrated and tried to attack violently, causing the ground to splash all the ground. Kim Woo-jin is also very agile. He immediately dodged a technique of the other giant. His assistant is the seemingly useless dry skeleton repeatedly shot the poisonous arrows on the legs of the boss orc, boss orc, who hit the poisonous blood. They have succeeded in attracting the attention of this blue giant boss that still stands and proves that the other arrows are nothing to it. Kim Woo-jin smirked and smiled in his hand, holding the fangs that had just won by Boss Orc. He said, "Now I have gained its fangs to work." He reviewed the fang that glowed here, perhaps the multi-dimensional space in his mind, and also a part of Kim Woo-jin's ability to find out information. And the notification system about the fangs of Boss Orc fangs granted the legendary item level requires level 1 or higher. Here are the fangs of the Boss Orc with the maximum power of the effect when equipped. He still smiled the most and said now, only one thing left to fangs slowly vanish, as if he absorbed all the equipment and power of the fang as predicted. His confident laughter seemed to say that he would end the match quickly, Jin said slowly. Jin continued to put his head down and said he just pulled the sword from the bloody hand thrown along the sword to pull over his hand. The boss of the boss was crazy and roared in a shape of a strong punch down on the ground, like a hole of sand and sandy soil floating with dust and smoke flying blindly. His teammate Jin was not useless. He jumped out as soon as the other green giant was about to raise his hand to grab the palace for some poisonous palace. Boss Orc now seems to have struggled. He was attacked quite unexpectedly. The boss became panicked and started to punch the disorder. Perhaps due to the loss of a valuable fang, its strength has decreased slightly. The eyes without the pupils and its bright blue and purple color suddenly widened all the way. It seemed to be attacked unexpectedly. The Boss Orc's notification system has been hit by poisonous blood. Fast as a lightning that made sand soil echoed all the four sides is Jin's movement speed when he focused on something he was behind the monster's back or startled boss. It turned back to identify this big opponent with its full energy to swing a definitive and very speed weapon. The axe fluttered, but it was enough to make the sandy soil blind, but unlucky for it to avoid it. Not only but also on the iron axe, the monster was not good at. With Jin's punching speed, it is also quite difficult to keep her hand balanced on its axe. Standing in the hands of the monster that kept balanced by hand, and finally, he needed a sword and the axe that made him throw the terrible power of the boss-sized character also made the hero difficult. Jin against his palms in the sword to keep balance. The strongest man like him also struggled when standing on a giant axe with an axe swing across the light rate of the oversized monster. The Boss Orc's notification system has been hit by poisonous blood. The light in its eyes becomes smaller, seemingly spreading throughout its large body. Jin, clinging to the monster's hand, is the reason he plugged the sharp sword down his hand, causing it to hurt and release the only weapon it had. The sharp eyes and the confident finish, Jin thought the axe you were using. The monster was locked up by a sharp sword in his hand like a sharp needle into his hand and threw its big axe toward teammate Kim. Woo-jin thought continued to seem like the skeleton suddenly saw the axe rush towards it quickly. According to the natural reflexes, the skeleton grabs the huge axe. But is it a bit stupid not to finish, not know why and what it needs to do? It seems that it knows what it needs to do, and the skeleton throws its bow to the ground. He understood and knew what he had to do in the next step, that he made his eyes shining, like burning on the fire of hatred, for hatred to prepare to be discharged into the charm that continued to be the perfect weapon to take that life. Orc's ears of the ears attracted the attention of Park Yong-wan. He also came to see him because of curiosity. He thought that with a somewhat terrified face and wondering what he thought about it, Orc did not have such a reputation. He understood something, decided to find out that he had a thought that someone he continued to think was fighting with Boss Orc recently. Who is Mr. Pak's unhappy face with the thought of misery, but he thinks to find out quickly and report about the new association. Thinking, he rushed to learn and detect. Park Yong-wan jumped up. Lower one down on the top of the stone. He was startled and shocked to look down. Looking down from above, he thought that the two soldiers of one player, he thought that he could not see any other players around here in front of him, as the scenery of the struggling boss monster of the four sides to hit the two sets of remains. He looked at Kim Woo-jin watching his two soldiers attacked the monster and thought that he challenged Boss Orc alone. The eyes of the suspicious panic and terrifying panic he thought must report to the guild immediately. Just thought of running a circuit to report accidentally, so that the soil on the cliff fell a little. It seems that Jin has realized the presence of an unrelated person. He danced and escaped extremely quickly to report to the guild. Unexpectedly, he was hit by the name that looked like a beast that had just been hunted. He was surprised and asked the arrow. Mr. Back fell into a bag and fell to the ground. He immediately stood up by the arrow shot at his shoulder blades with his other hand. He tightened the other side of the shoulder, looks very painful, and thought what happened. So who did? He realized something he thought could not be discovered, and then the Northern Star immediately thought of Kim Woo-jin earlier that he stopped him reporting that he was fighting Boss Orc. His eyes glanced back. A long-time member of the HOI was after Mr. Pak's not always, or the killing intent, but the whole person radiates the light of oppressive power. His cold gaze stared at Mr. Pak sitting on the ground. Park Yong-wan pale and silently asked for Skull. He slipped a bloody line to splash out a very obsessive scene. The member of the long-lasting dried nest has just killed a life of a person, but cold face like nothing happened around the surrounding space, so that he also became quiet. He killed, but the sword did not stick any drop of blood that made others shudder. Mr. Pak, after choosing that quick sword that had mango lying on the bloody soil to splash the member of the dried long fest. Just hunting a booty in the forest, he was lying in a pool of blood, and a very scenery scene. The person who was about to report to the guild was also destroyed under the expansion of the long-term dried festival, also known as the Skull Association. The man holding the red pen, he said, left 5 more, and slowly bricked a 10 mark on Park Yong-wan's photo, seemed to follow the orders of the superior to destroy the names. Not only is a small list, but also a notebook, that the names needed to destroy almost hidden, 10 red. The whole remaining one left an unknown guy who laughed strangely, and said that it took effort to fight Orc, making a crippled pant, but he said in a disdainful tone during that time, he killed more than nothing. The man with silver hair closed with his face, only opened his eyes to look at the squatting on the tree, to talk to the person who killed Mr. Park Yong-min, hearing that the new soldier reminded the new soldier half of that item that would belong to the association. He did not have any more memory to share with him. He was afraid that this new soldier would hold all that he took from the other new soldier. It turned out that the people's guilds were all liked to be hidden, but their masks were also very horrible. That this new soldier wearing a thick clothes with more weapons on the sides of the shoulder was pointed out like a sword fang with a mask shaped at the person he asked the name on the other tree, with quite uncomfortable appearance that he was going to kill the name. Just now, huh? The person on the other tree responded to the words of the new soldier. He was not on the list, but if he had the opportunity, you still killed to rob the long-term robbery. Like the festival is no different from the plundering assembly, he asked him to play the leader alone, so it was not different from the monster is too dangerous. The silver-haired man used the eyes of a hunting person like looking at the prey and said with a cold tone, but after that, he finished that orc, he was always out of quack. When he finished talking, he immediately told him that he fell here to handle the other place, followed me, then the other guy would do anything to do anything else. After saying that, he picked up the collar of Mr. Park Yong-won lying coldly on the ground and picked up the collar as if he had just hunted the wild beast and was about to bring it back. He dragged his body to go away, blood flow in the way he was pulled away. He said he could throw it to the orc crowd to worship it for him. Behind the tree, where the two members were dry in the long run, Kim Woo-jin heard everything, but he did not attack them when he heard that they were going to kill him. He just silently heard the next step. They intend to do what they do to do. With a monitoring eye, he may be planning something or simply intending to follow the new soldier of Skull. Mountain scenery. The scene where the giant orc giant orders died on the ground, where the biotic festival that the Phone Hoeing Association was gathering. They have lowered a lot of orc images. Yang Ji-hoo, holding a giant axe, pointed at a very majestic orc. The leader in the Phoenix Association, who wears a red armor, he thinks that the progress seems faster than I thought. Someone else seemed to be the soldier. He told the leader that we could complete this dungeon soon. The leader of the chief smirked. To show his agreement with the other soldier, he said correctly. But from now on, we do not need to rise anymore. And if there is a chance, then gradually back to the back of the soldier's squad does not seem to understand and ask the idea of how strong the leader of the Phoenix Church, but the thought of contempt, like that enemy, is that enemy. The leader of the red laughing and thinking that the long time was about to be cleaned up, so from Mai would start to find Orc leader. It turned out that he did not know that Orc's boss, Lord Orc, was defeated by Jin. So he still thought that he would destroy his boss as his church laughing and telling people that prepared to gradually go away, he was just going to go and gradually walk to go to the right thing to go away. Suddenly above the air flashed a few blue lights, but the notice of the game system made the whole assembly surprised. The Phoenix leader was also surprised, but he seemed to realize something that would probably make him angry. As expected, it is a notice of the system that has turned black with red letters that showed that there was something that was destroyed. The words that appeared, all of them were surprised and shouted at simultaneously. The system of announcing you defeated the leader of the orc, as if he did not believe his eyes. He was suddenly sweaty and said that he was probably too surprised, so he could not speak out loudly. With that notice, the whole sect started to show an attitude of not believing in the eyes that someone shouted what the hell was like. This someone roared. Everyone said that I was wrong with him because he could not believe this was the truth. So he was angry and said that he did not know if the dead guy did not know a notice that the whole delegation was loud enough to show that Boss Orc was important to them in front of them. It dared to challenge the whole association. They're not only Phone Hoeing Association but also a member of the Rescue Association, who is shocked how can the main force of the associations are focusing here. But they certainly did not expect that Boss Orc was defeated by only one person and two soldiers, or because their too weak power has narrowed their imagination. A person who called the name earlier was that the leader of him seemed to be the soldier of the Saving Association. He said the leader of this is what this means, that the Lions festivals who left before were successful. The leader of this group said I was not sure because they did not believe that Jin could easily defeat the boss, so they never thought about this case. The leader of the leader brought his eyes to one side of his eyes that seemed wary of him, thinking that he thought that the Lion Festival was only a big girl. Jin's side killed the boss with the intelligence and power of a protagonist. The blue light surrounded him as a breakthrough announcement was stronger now. As expected, Kim Woo-jin has promoted because the notice system you have been granted has received the achievement of the header of the orc leader of the reward as a skill. He seems indifferent to the reward of the system. He thinks about a new one. Kim Woo-jin's eyes widened as long as he was quite surprised with the reward of this reward system that was quite special here. Jin received that secondary with curiosity and reward for this boss orc's killing system, according to the notification system that was the book of the death of the system, to announce the skill escape of the book that contains the power of Osiris that can accommodate 5 monsters of the souls of the dead seal in the notebook of the death that receives the power of Osiris than 5 ph. He stared at the somewhat torn book and wondered that this was the same as the bag, but to contain my monsters, the ones who were given here increased a bit of strength. Nothing. He thought that he always thought about the intention to let some monster in him think that it was always hot, and the book suddenly glowed. Jin's skeletal soldier was suddenly shocked by being surrounded by unpleasant black smoke. Maybe Jin was about to put it in that book. Indeed, the book promoted its use to be activated by the power of Kim Woo Jin. It attracted the huge skeleton, but the way it smoked it was a bit strong, making it difficult for a person like Jin to stand. The blinding light from the book from the god emitted and attracted the other bone soldier to Jin a little surprise. Finally it boomed a light and weakened. Finally complete the introduction of monsters into the blind smoke book, he humorously said that it is monumental. He thinks that we do not need to kill the first child from the prisons first to be able to call the soldiers immediately, and always on the book with the word of the remains. This is a reward worthy of the strong person with the effort to kill a monster like Lord Orc. Kim Woo Jin smirked at him and stared at his reward and thought that with this, the biggest weakness of summoning was the soldier who was the past. On the other side of the forest, it seems that the Phoenix Association has been agitated, especially their leader. He rushed to learn to let the soldiers prevent British leader from running, so the leader of Orc was destroyed already. The leader seemed quite annoyed and felt quite bothered, and he shouted as if I didn't know that the other soldier seemed confusing, and asked why. The red shirt leader of Phone Hoeing HOI shouted in the urgency to learn and frustration with the soldiers. He cursed at the fool, at least to see the situation. There was still something to report again, but he screamed and kept talking to Mr. Park Yong-wan. I thought that I would be all here. They did not know if their PAK was killed by long-lasting dried assembly. Long time ago. The group seemed to be quite afraid of this man, Park Yong-wan, so he thought of the name Park Yong-wan and sweating silently without saying anything else. They do not ask or complain about anything. Keep in silence and follow to find out with the leader. Rumors of the long-lasting dried crowd also heard the news that they hide after the trees of brown-haired men who did not expect the Orcs' leader to collapse so quickly, not due to the weak leader, but because Jin was too strong after they heard the information they gathered together. One of the long-time dry festivals said that changing the plan to keep the body's body with the leader before Orc, who had handled the target in the previous list, that turned out that this association was also targeting Jin. It was still that guy, but the new soldier stayed to clean up and said that his eyes and glance to the side were very scary. The silver hair sitting on the tree. Just now said I told him to follow, but after this trip I had to teach to be taught to seem like the new soldier did not gather with them, but went somewhere. He said that if our identity is revealed, the superior will have a problem to avoid it. With it seems that this festival is doing what is shady of their purpose, does not have to destroy Orc as other associations, but the names that have been red tiles on the list that seems to have caused a lot of associations, so they killed people who destroy the rules of work, which is very cruel and loyal to himself in the case. Another man who said more now is not much time, but still acting as a secret as possible. Just finished behind them as if there was something soaring. He rolled his eyes back and shouted loudly to be someone who was coming. It is true that the new soldier of the long-time assembly, he was soaring, as if he was hunted by a panic, asked what the new soldier would run like that. It turned out that the new soldier ran like that. Were two soldiers of Kim Woo Jin. He probably wanted to retaliate the fact that he had eavesdropped on them after killing Park Yong-wan. The silver hair suddenly shouted at the core warrior. He was so unexpected that he swore in the sky and carried him to the other name. The other guy must moan, and he did not expect the new soldier to dare to challenge a name that was just trimmed by the boss orc. Looking at that, the other two remains were also very big and strong. They were running down the other soldiers. The silver hair shouted loudly and scolded the bastard's new soldier crazy. You led them here. How do we do a strong group of associations but can't control the other two soldiers? He turned to the name called the leader and said the leader was now at the new walnut soldier and we were revealed. And the leader of the big eyes glared at the new soldier and huffed one. Then the new soldier could only run to the rescue and hide behind the leader. The leader was angry that he thought that the other decided to attack us, because he knew that something would take time. Here the other associations would come here, and he thought that the dead would be right, because the group of them had some names, and fighting all the groups that could not think, that even if they had to cancel the task, they had to kill this name and delete the trace. Think and silently pull the sword in a cloak. The leader of the eyes turned to shout and asked the rest of the names already. Before finishing the sentence, The new soldier killed all the rest at the moment, including the leader. This is really the strength of a new soldier. The gray hair name lies on the ground. The brown hair name was also thrown into the ground and could not say anything in time. The crowd lying on the ground seemed to be dead, but they thought what the hell they thought. The leader widened his eyes and thought that the new soldier betrayed him, was shocked to not understand why he was thrown unexpectedly and easily. As expected, where the new soldier had gone, he did not know, or maybe he died. Kim Woo-jin disguised as a new soldier, he threw away the outfit and laughed, mocking. The sharp eyes looked down at the long, dry crowd like preparing complications. Like Boss Orc, the name of the leader, thinks this name is an increasingly attractive story. Kim Woo-jin's eyes radiate black smoke. He looked at the body in front of him and thought, so these guys were the reason only half of the players were still alive. But in the memory of this new soldier, there is no information related to the salvation. He looked down. In the previous life, the other guy was only put on the missing list. He looked at the name next to it and thought, then he reached for the black mask. And wearing it on my face seems to have to go to the skull leader in this. If you are lucky, you will probably earn information about the relationship between the Skull Association and the Salvation. But before that, the leader of Orc's leader thought and left. He left. At another place, a black hair of the long-lasting wary of seeing and thinking that this bastard is what the hell he goes from. The dry skeleton walked near the long time, scared him and shouted and shouted. Kim Woo-jin stood in one place to look at them and thought that we were lucky, and all the names in the memory of the new soldier gathered here, thinking he took the sword to go to a long name. On the other side, 2 dry skeletons are also raising their weapons to prepare to slash down 3 gate in the drying year. The white-haired man widened his eyes and shouted. Fresh blood in the blink of an eye immediately shot around. Only a long-lasting dry assembly he was facing. Kim Woo-jin. He still walked slowly, him closer to him. He looked at him and thought that this bastard was not hesitant at all when he killed. Meaning, this was not the first time he did that. Thinking he said, I didn't know who you were, but you didn't get anything from me. He reached his hand in his chest and thought it. Even though he could live and escape, he was only obstacles for the leader. Only this way, I thought, and then he pulled it out, and definitely stabbed him into his suicide fresh blood from his body. Kim Woo-jin saw that he acted like that was surprised. It's very useless suicide. I shouldn't thank him, right? Because he just proves that he knows a lot of valuable information. He looks at him and said, the eye of Anubis immediately, Kim Woo-jin immediately invaded his memory to change the global influence that will be an opportunity for the Japanese country to take a long step. We will cooperate with the Saving Association to build an organization to expand the voice influence transmitted from a small wooden house. Hayato no I'm seen. Jun go to Korea to join the Skull Association and devote to the country. If we can capture the prison and items of both Japan and Korea, we will build a more powerful empire than ever. It will be called the Yamato Empire. I'm seen. Jun will now introduce those who will guide him. The angels of Japan will help us build Yamato outside the door with 2 shadows. He looked at the person who had just entered when he was surprised. He opened his mouth to look at the 2 people who just entered. Extremely honored to act for 2 days, he hurriedly lowered his head to the ceremony and thought unexpectedly he met the leader of the sword and the palace here. His memory moved to another place with a name we need to handle when the prison tunnel appeared him. A Korean dungeon brokerage is okay, but recently he is in the Japanese brokerage line. We have to handle him at any cost. It seems that Korea also has a pretty broker with something. He's named the white-haired man in the long time. After watching his memory, Kim Woo-jin released his head and said that I had not to be like that, but it seemed like it was so disgusting. Even though in the darkest moments we still trust and fight together, he gritted his teeth. The leader of the palace is the same. Before returning, we have conquered a lot. Because saving the world always stands in the pioneer, we want to be like them. They are not only a teacher, but also a spiritual support for us. They are valuable teammates we can trust in both life, even though in the most fierce battles we always think so. He bowed his head and thought that they were on the same side as Lee Si-jun. This time we can't let them. Like what to do, make him determined to think that the next goal is Ose-chan. He put his hand on his chin to say a broker of the dungeon, and then thought that if he was put on the priority list, it would be very talented. In the previous life, we did not hear anything about him, meaning that the assassination was successful. If these Yamato replaced him, the worms would benefit something. As long as he is still on the assassination list, the assassin will still visit like cremation and fire, so we may find a certain clue to weaken them. He looked at the body under his feet and continued, and we were also in need of brokers to find a prison for us, so it was convenient for the time to finish the work here, and then prepared to leave the hell. A car parked in the beach. The cars is still senior around the gate is always silent. The black-haired man wears a vest in the car and opened his eyes and closed one eye and said that the monster could not come out of the gate, so of course he had to be silent, but he just had to be completed, so he took care of him immediately. So he took care of the brown hair and sat in the driver's seat when he was conquered in the conquest. The black-haired name heard that it was not the reason for the idiot, but the players fighting to fight each other's items. Self, fighting the brown hair, was surprised to utter the black-haired hair closed with his head and leaned against the chairs to continue the saving association. All would try to find a way to get as many items as possible anyway. Until then, calculate the time to sleep, and sleep is still a long break to rest. Suddenly the brown hair was surprised to look and pointed out that the black-haired chicken was sleeping and waking up to look at him and shouted at this bastard. So how annoying. How could the gate of the brown hair, hesitant looking from the car's glass door, were out and saw that the distance was very bright. The other guy heard he turned to look when he looked. He immediately surprised his eyes. Player Kim Woo-jin is hugging the wound in the chest, gradually walking from the gate. The loud screams immediately rang a class prison bunker that was conquered to take care of the injured people before the medical team immediately pushed the stretcher to the place of Kim Woo-jin. At this time he was falling on the ground. The player started to come out and bring the stretcher here. The seniors have a cramping over there. Why does the situation seem to be worse than the previous time? Immediately, the online newspapers posted hot news when 31 people killed, all dead, no one from the Skull Association who survived, who defeated the leader of Orc. The reward of the dungeon disappeared between members of the hot newspaper guilds has also been printed. The newspaper was crumbled by a person. The name Park Yong-wan looked at the newspaper that he had just cursed a mother. His mother could not find the bastard who defeated the leader of Orc. This said, I have to believe these things. The crumpled newspaper was thrown on the table. The big brother in the phone hoeing association explained that I was extremely sorry. Everything was too sudden. Next time, I would definitely not let this happen like this. Park Yong-wan heard him say, then said next time. So you plan to compensate for time and money? I put in this case, with my disappointment, like this. This is not a charity, and I can't give insects like you next time. Bringing back here 5 times the capital of this crop in a week is best to do exactly what I say when I give you the opportunity. The loud shout came from the house 5 times. The name Park Yong-wan told the secretary next to the name Kim Woo-jin being treated at the hospital. Ah, the secretary listened to him when he answered. Yes, he was injured when in the hell. If he heard it, he said that no one was useful to all the dungeons. The secretary hesitated a bit and said that he said that the wound was not because the monster heard here. He was surprised to ask what was always meaning that he was attacked by other people of the other association. The secretary continued the truth that could be hidden early, so I thought it was best to listen directly from him. All right, to any hospital, he did not learn to go to global with everyone, but saw him stand up and go. The secretary immediately followed me for sure about that. At the hospital, Mr. Kim Woo-jin should take care of himself. The person wearing a black ticket to go out of the hospital room and bow to speak. If you remember anything more, please contact the association immediately. Then he turned away and sighed and said that he did not expect him to remember anything to report to the level. The elevator is moving down to the 4th floor. He just waited for the elevator and thought that if everything became like this, why did Park Yong-wan want to ask Kim Woo-jin to join the team? The elevator opened the name Park Yong-wan, and the secretary came out. Then pay attention to the black vest. After arriving at the door of Kim Woo-jin's disease room, he immediately said that he looked at the face of the man. Just passing it, seemed that Kim Woo-jin also closed his mouth. The room door was pulled out to hear the noise. Kim Woo-jin immediately looked out. The name Park Yong-wan went in and looked at him and asked for a long time and did not feel like he saw him. And saw him, he thought that the water dropped slightly down the gourd. Park Yong-wan sat in the chair next to Kim Woo-jin's bed and heard him say that I did not know much about them, but I heard more about the news. I saw them attacking the leader of Orc, but the fact that they were killed, then the reward item was robbed by another association. The last thing I see is that they use the hidden skills of the hunter silently. Park Yong-won listened to him after saying that we knew about that hidden concealer that could make users completely disappear from the extremely useful eye, so that they were aiming for both Orc's leader and player. He continued to say yes, if not for poisoning, then maybe I would die on the spot. If the assassin did not stick to the blood from my blood, I would probably hesitate. That means he is still very lucky, and because the skulls have died clean now, only you are a witness that is true. But I think I should still be alert for a while, by the way. He heard him ask. He gritted his teeth and cursed a mother, and then said that I thought that I would go crazy at all, because I lost that skull, and I lost a large amount of Kim Woo-jin, silently watching him angry. After saying that, he thought that he could not let this have to have a lot of information about those skulls to make an unexpected loss of Kim Woo-jin bringing so much useful information. After thinking, he clapped his hands hard on his lap and then told me what he wanted. He heard him ask, then asked me what I wanted to mean. Why did he stand up and say, "Stop playing fake game anymore"? He glanced at his brother to spy on the players because it was our agreement, but did not intentionally approach me first because of the purpose. He heard that he said here for a few seconds before he spoke, if he said that I need to find someone, a person you needed now. He raised his head to look at him and said he knew a broker named Ose-chan. He was not famous for his talent, but I did not have enough relationship to find him. Ose-chan, why did you know him, but that after remembering our advice, please listen to the phone when you receive a call from a strange number. After saying that, he went to the door and said the secretary, then went beside him very arrogant. He chose the customer not to let anyone come to him, but it was true that he had a real talent. Besides, we repeat it for sure. But remember to keep the mouth. If there is any rumor appearing, only you are in danger. He will turn to look at him and say, hearing him tell him, he said yes. So see you again. Behind the door of the room was closed in the room at this time, only Kim Woo-jin alone. He sat up and wore sandals still according to the plan, although he still did not fully trust himself. Park Yong-won still did not know anything about the relationship between the Salvation Association and the Skull Association. Once he started to recover the information, he went to the window and thought Lee Si-jun and the leader of the Sword and the Palace would begin the attention of him. Park Yong-won did not know that we were injured by ourselves. We will focus on increasing strength. The fast black car runs on the road. Although the skull is very large, but there is no sponsor, which means there is only one reason. The name Park Yong-won after leaving the hospital. He was sitting in a car and looked at the phone and gritted his teeth and said they sold items abroad. Must investigate black markets outside Japan right away, and we will find traders who have traded with them. He smiled and said, we felt those names and we were the same kind of person. A few days later, Kim Woo-jin was discharged from the hospital. At this time, he was walking on the road while thinking that he should have contacted. His phone suddenly shook him to look and thought and reminded Chow Chow. When he pressed, he heard from the phone and emitted a voice that I heard about it, so he wanted to trade with us. He heard it and thought that this name was Ose-chan, and he replied, as I needed to find more prison. The voice from the phone was agreed upon to let me after I checked my brother's ability, then asked him to say that the ability I would text in detail for you later. After saying that, the phone's call ended. So the rumor he selected customers was the fact that he looked at the message, just sent in the phone to clean robust number of first floor. The difficulty of the number of 4 people to participate in level 20 or less to complete the hunt for 100 robust positions. Songs long. Elson, GU, finished reading the message, he said. Even though it was just a CNG class that had an unexpected floor to use if he had to use it, at a certain building on the street, the name Lee Gina leaned back on the sofa showed that the bad guy this time was the big brother, Ose-chan, holding the phone as always, a customer who applied Park Yong-won to him. He heard it sighed, but from the previous time it was not long ago, but if he was someone sent to treat him. The name Ose-chan stood up and said that he did not care if he was filled with trucks. He was useless, and he continued, and I was not assured when he worked for Park Yong-won. If he really works for Park Yong-won, he has contacted him directly. Oh, Se-chan just opened a drawer to speak and said that he could not go to the test. It wouldn't have to work as long as he had the ability he wanted to kill him. Because if he was so strong that he said and dropped his mobile phone in his hand, we would be able to completely erase the dungeon and complete the game. The phone falls in the drawer, including many other phones we need. Lee Gina raised his thumb and laughed. Why did you say that, big brother? Doesn't he search right here? Oh, Se Chang heard, then looked at him and said that your uncle was still so young, why did he not understand how much he still had a solo tunnel? Anyway, he also let the other guy go to the robust prison and to see if there is anything good. He hurt his head on his head and shook his head and said that robust was not too much, bro. If you force him or anything, he could ignore it. Lee Gina tilted his head back and said that I didn't count anything. I forgot that I met a strong metabolism. Why did you get starving to him and then he will scream and scream you and beat you? And then just call it all the food, and then call for hunger again. A small yellow car running back to the big hole in the middle of the pit is the gate. Kim Woo-jin got off and closed the door. Kim Woo-jin looked around and said a robust prison he was not planning to make money, or why he was not easy, because he used the hell too difficult for normal players like this. He slid down the pit while thinking about it, but it was only difficult for those who did not know how to deal with robust. Secretary Lee looked over the binoculars, saying she was standing near the dungeon in Songslong Elson-jiu. She continued on the radio in his hand. Kim Woo-jin approaching the hell. Her voice transmitted from the radio to Ose-chan. I started to press the time. I will be surprised by her. Ose-chan. It is true that a man rushed him to pick up the radio and asked, so what did he prepare? It looks like he did not carry anything special. Secretary Lee answered that he heard that he bit his teeth, and the response did not know if he was reckless or stupid anymore. Lee Gina sat down to hear this conversation. Then he asked, not in the end, he was just a crazy guy, but also did not know if he could not prepare anything because he was too confident. Oh, sec hang, it may be like that, but if that confidence is not just a big neck. At another place, I still do not know the situation that seems to be so saved. Outside the door, there are 3 pair of slippers neatly arranged. Don't say that, but calm down. Kim Jae-hoon of the Salvation Association raised his hand to say that he also predicted what would happen in the hell because there were so many chaotic factors that left empty-handed. It was a bit poor, but at least there were not too many losses. Not many losses. The leader of the palace looked at him and continued to say that my 5 disciples died, and he said that it was not much. He heard it, hesitated to explain that I didn't mean it. Lee Sin's leader said that Lee Sin probably knew about our relationship with the Skull Association. Not so when related to the A-plus prison bunker, he gave us the job first. Kim Ji-hoon's name secretly cursed a thought that was wrong, and of course it was impossible to predict what would happen in the hell. But he should tell us to believe that the leader of the sword looks at him and continues to say something like, Orsi killed us. This is not easy to ignore. Kim Ji-hoon's jet. Hurry down and down in front of the 2 leaders of the swordsmanship. And the palace leader said, I was extremely sorry. I should have thought more when I uttered those bullshit. Please give me a little more time. I will surely investigate carefully. The leader of the sword slightly smirked the corners of his mouth and said it was not necessary anymore. We also started to investigate himself, and then do not stress like that. Kim Ji-hoon's name was surprised to open his eyes. The leader of the sword poured wine into his cup and continued, even though everything happened like this, we were still an ally with the Saving Association that I just wanted to show him that. How off we feel offended. The leader of the sword poured alcohol spilled out but still did not stop. Then he continued to be a comrade if there was a friction, just to sit down to drink a few cups. Doing everything can be ignored. Not the name Kim Jae-hoon holds a glass of wine, but his hands are trembling. Of course, if we are still the old comrades, he stood up and said yes, so the name Kim Jae-hoon was frozen. The leader of the swordsmanship and the leader of the palace went out and slammed the door. In the room named Kim Jae-hoon clenched his teeth and thought that he was too complacent. Before the leader of the palace and the leader of the sword, he had to think of the plan to cope immediately. The leader of the palace and the leader of the swordplay went to the door when there was a car parked to welcome the 2 leaders of the palace, when the old phone opened the phone to listen and asked him to handle it, and then the damage to my side. Okay, I know. 2 people in the car who asked the day, asked if we guessed that the old man said that it was not because any name on the assassination list means not among those with good skills known. The next goal will be the Phoenix Association only left them. The leader of the swordsmen continued. If the culprit was not on the list of assassination, he continued, he belonged to a faction we did not know and deliberately hidden strength for something. Near robust prison in Songslong Elsan-jiu. On the rooftop of a high-rise building named the Blue Shirt standing in the pocket of the shirt and saying, the player in the dungeon. Today we will probably become a few days the name of the brown shirt to hear him say, that then say what you say. He is alone next to him is a distant glass and radio. And I haven't seen any player who is awake and that guy will die early and the gate will open soon. Before he could finish talking behind the light from the scene of the hell flashing, the name of the blue shirt immediately pointed to say that he said that he turned around and turned his face. That is when the dungeon was conquered, what he said. The brown shirt hurriedly grabbed the binoculars and said that the dungeon could not be completed even though there were enough people to make the maximum of the blue shirt and put his hand on his hand to call the big brother. Being bothered by the blue shirt, he angrily turned out to say loudly what you did. So I had to find the name that had been completed, where it was the blue shirt pointing to the hell gate, and continued. Not to think, I thought he found him already. Hey! He pointed to the golden car running on the road. Seeing the car, the name of the brown shirt cursed out. Oh, Sei-chan's spot! A loud shout rang out. He said he lost him. Oh, Sei-chan holding the radio and shouted and received the money, then do business for me, but take my money to do bullshit and now anti-processing. Huh? He kept shouting at the radio, causing Secretary Lee to cover his ears. She covered her ears and called the boss. He was angry when he heard the voice of her call, then shouted, I haven't paid them yet. I told them that they were my compatriots. Why did she stand up, calmly say, oh, Eseki hang sweating, but we decided to pay without them. Just came to help me. Oh, Sei-chan sweating and saying it was a pity because starting from today, I would not drink anymore. She took her bag and said, if it was Kim Woo-jin, he would not have to worry about you now. Where I went to the secretary, she replied, if he intended to work with us, he would contact him soon. Seeing her like that, Oh Sei-chan said coldly, and then he thought to remember this year. I met her. Lee Gina calf a large bag of snacks and opened the door. He ate an ice cream stick while looking at Oh Sei-chan, asked the secretary of the secretary, why did you say something? And then the company went away. So I just buttered. Oh Sei-chan heard him say, he said it would be sure that he had the need to go somewhere today. Besides, Kim Woo-jin finished the prison bunker and only took him for half a day. When he saw the big food he was hugging, Oh Sei-chan angrily screamed at this dog, how much money for that convenience store. And then he heard it. He only had a voice, but he did not do that. You want to die and return it immediately for me not to be stingy with you. But big brother. Kim Woo-jin's car is stopping on the road. He was sitting and thinking something. He recalled that when he had just come from in the dungeon, then immediately saw a radio with a piece of paper in his car. He picked up the radio and the paper. He touched the radio in the next chair and said the hand-held radio was in short. On the paper, there is a message. If you come from the dungeon, please contact us with this radio to work at 9 a.m. to remember this name or spread it softly. On the road, there are many cars running on the edge of the road. There is a black car parked. Kim Ja-hoon sitting in the car and resting his head down to his teeth, and he could not keep his face to meet the leader. Really have to ask Yang Ji-hoo to help stars. Suddenly his phone shook and lit up. He picked up the phone on the phone and I had Kim Ji-hoon. A's Skull Association understands and then I will go there and then he drove and turned. At this time, Park Yong-wan is looking forward and saying, solving the problem in silence as always, as it is best we do not need to explain the reason. The gray-haired man sat across from him. He said yes. He knew that he had talked to the person I needed to protect him yet. But now he has discussed it with you. Then I will explain the situation with subordinates always. Just keep the life and help him out of it. We'll be able to take care of the rest. On the floor, Kim Jun is standing listening to the conversation of the two. He wondered what he had to do with Park Yong-wan, so he didn't know how much he was about the skull. Suddenly there was someone who appeared from behind him and spoke out, making him startled me. I also wondered that Park Yong-wan could have a real relationship, but to the point of knowing about the Skull Association. He took more about the Skull Festival to facilitate the work, but he also said some strange things. The other person recalled when I talked to Park Yong-wan, even if Mr. Park Yong-wan told me to share information about the Skull Association, it would be a bit difficult. Then Park Yong-wan heard, then he said he was more careful than that time. If I said I knew the secret about the skulls died in that prison bunker, Kim Jun finished listening, then startled him to say that really. Then he bowed down and thought, if it was true, this is no longer a problem that I can solve it myself, and then I will have trouble if this report is to the leader, thinking. And then he looked down and asked the person who was talking to Park Yong-wan, who was wearing the glasses, and said Jong Hoon-young. He had a lot of business with Park Yong-wan. He is the type of mercenary who does not belong to any association and will accept anything as long as there is a worthy player. After talking, Park Yong-won left Kim Ji-hoon and said very thank you for cooperating with the Salvation Association and sharing this information that the man wearing glasses said anyway. Kim Ji-hoon's name is silent. After a while, he went down to the floor where Jung Hoon-young. We talked a little. Jung Hoon-young's name saw him surprised to think that he was Kim Jun of the Salvation Association. After sitting at the table, Kim Ji-hoon knit hands together and said, I didn't know what he had heard from Park Yong-won, but I had a suggestion for him. A work related to cooperation with the Salvation Association. A work related to cooperation with the Salvation Association. The name Jung Hoon-young heard that he said here, sweating and asking if he was talking about what was a little simpler. He stared at the name Dong-hoon and continued to talk about an extremely beneficial business for him, and he still didn't understand. It would take time. On the road, the vehicles are stopping waiting for the red light. In the car of his name, Park Yong-won, his secretary sat in the front chair and turned his head to look at him and asked me to get a public dungeon, as he said, but it seems that this way of his work is not like normal. Isn't everything more complicated if he is involved in his own? The name Park Yong-won took out the phone and said that the ginger was forced to take action because it was so disturbed and probably would be in a hurry, and the organization of the time, the place, and the supporting actor were ready. We only set up the stage for the main actor, he said, and called Kim Woo-jin. At this time, Kim Jae-hoon is sitting alone. He was scared to bite his nails to think that Park Yong-won was trying to calculate what the devil. He recalled Jung Hoon-young's words because he asked 5 people. Even if I went to protect him, he seemed to be extremely important to his name. He looked at the list on Kim Woo-jin LV16 Phoenix. He looked at the name of Kim Woo-jin and thought that he was on the list of participating in the A+ Hell. But there was no life that he could be alone against the elders of the skull of this prey, that he did not know if he did not know whether he should intentionally bite the fishing or not anymore. Kim Woo-jin's car is parked on the edge of the road. At this time, he was sitting in a car and talking through the radio. I was definitely going to the test, and the right voice from the radio was right faster than I thought. He hid his true ability. Right. Well, it's not my doubt or anything, is just a personal curiosity that he heard about it, saying I showed the main ability because he requested that. Understand. Anyway, you said I wanted to buy a dungeon, right? I made a list of the prison bunkers I earned in the 19 cabinet at the Elson station, and if I needed anything to contact me. He opened the car door and said it clearly, but now I have some things to do, so I will contact you after a few days. On the other side, Ose-chan immediately said I would wait. The name Lee Gina saw that he finished talking, then asked the big brother really to do business with him. The hunch of Uncle Ho was right. Ose-chan turned back to say that his hunch was right, and not a brokerage is to make a living by risk. At this time, Kim Woo-jin was sitting opposite to talk to Park Yong-won ANH. He bowed his head to say, Mr. Park Yong-won. I found this a bit dangerous that he was telling me to bring his body as a bait for him to listen to him. Then he responded to him properly already. I don't know how to say that the things we say into rumors, but he thought that the guy seemed to be scared and then continued to talk about rumors to the skull at the beginning of the skull. Are you just about to sit still and wait for death? I personally rented a team of elite for you, and then I trusted me and entered the dungeon with them. Hearing him say here, he spoke, but this is still bringing my life to a joke, with any reason forcing us to do this. He heard him asking me to apologize for it, but I owe some mistresses with them, and I am the type of person who cannot be assured when I still owe someone. He was silent for a while and then told me that if it was that there was no other way, but I would like to raise the salary. Seeing him agree, he chuckled and thought, but how could he know that he thought he had tricked him into his plan, but he was the one who was tricked? Thinking then, he took one hand and said no problem. His secretary immediately went out and left a thing on the table and said the boss had prepared something for Kim Woo-jin. If he was stronger, of course the survival rate was higher, right? He looked at the piece of paper on the table and skilled. He went out of his house and thought he felt sorry for his pants before he came back here. Park Yong-won, who went to the Yamato side. And following the path of a counterattack is a trendy decision, but it is not related. Unexpectedly, he gave him this one. He looked at the paper and laughed softly. He was more useful than he thought. In a certain dungeon, why are we so miserable that we don't know if this momentum is not known to pay off the debt? Hearing the crowd of people complaining, the big brother of the phone hoeing association was angry and turned around and shouted and continued. The bastard Park Yong-won was gently with us, another man said, but that was too much. It is not our fault, And how the hell we know who it is? His mother we have to help in this prison tunnel. How long? I also know that there is still a powerful power to go and kill the monster behind a big rock to follow them. He wore a strange face full of his face and stood still and listened to them talking. At the foot of a bridge there was a bunch of people gathering. Jung Hoon-young's name on the phone and said it was ready to finish. Yes, I will do that. The phone call ended on the screen was the words Park Yong-wan he just talked to. Park Yong-wan. In short, he looked at the person in front of him and said, we just needed to deliver Kim Woo-jin to the right people. He looked at the suitcase of the money placed next to him and continued, but the picture like that was a bit less. If we would lose an important customer, the additional compensation must be religious, right? It turned out that the person who was talking to him was the name Kim Ji-hoon. He heard him say that, then raised his hand to say, if it was a matter of money, just after that, he would receive a lot more. I could find him other customers if he wanted to. If he heard it again instead, I wanted to make a contract with the Saving Association. If he could do it, I thought I would not need to be paid any more coins. Hearing him say that the name Kim Ji-hoon said I could not do that because I could not decide on the issues related to the interests of the Saving Association. After talking, the name Kim Ji-hoon immediately drove away from the people named Jung Hoon-young, bowing him from afar. Jung Hoon-young's name follows the red car that is far away and says yellow. And then after this case, we will be rich in the name behind him and say, I don't think of this type of person in the Saving Association. Like that. When he heard that, he laughed and said that it was a person, but it was not. Everyone Lee's seen. But that is nothing to do with us. We just need to take this opportunity and to get enough money after receiving enough money. In another place, the light from the Hell Gate flashed a loud shout, and the conquest of the dungeon was conquered. Every member of the Skull Association survives. A black ticket, wearing a black ticket, ran out to see that only the people of the Skull Association stepped out of the prison bunker when he stood as shocked as the husband thought what to do with the member of the Phoenix Association, and then died. They are all members from the Park Yong-wan side. Thinking, he hurriedly turned his head to look at the group of the skulls, just walked over and asked to ask for a moment. Do you know what happened to our members without a feast of the skull preparing to get in the car, a little stopped? At least let me know what happened so I can notify their relatives. The blonde name of the Skull Association pulled the mask down and laughed and said that I tore the body to the level of recognition. After saying that, he got in the car and left the man wearing a feared glass to watch the car of the skulls, people running away gradually. In a car named Purple, he asked the blonde name forgot what the leader said. Why not make noise? The blonde name did not care but let out an hour, and then told me that the purple hair guy did not pay attention to him anymore, and took the phone to call someone here. I am Matsumoto. Here we have just finished the job. At the top of the phone wire on the other side of the name Kim Ji-hoon, I said loudly, I found the target. He would go to the prison as soon as it started to go to the name of Matsumoto. Immediately said, and why we had to hear his command, no time if he missed this opportunity, to say how to say to the leader and then go there, clearly, more clearly. A message sent to the phone of the motorbike. The content of the message is the hunting of the lizard. Number the second floor. The difficulty of the number of people up to 10 conditions to participate in the level 29 conditions to complete the destruction of all the gods. At a luxurious house, the name Park Yong-wan is standing against his hands on the hips to look outside the glass door, thinking that there is a foreign faction in Korea. This will be a good opportunity as long as you use the Skull Association properly. I always think that it is too wasteful if I am only active in Korea. Even if the plan was unfavorable and Kim Woo-jin died at least. I got information about the Skull Association. He raised his hand to look at the watch at his hand. Now it is about time to come. In another place, Kim Woo-jin walked slowly to the crowd. Jung Hoon-young's name saw him. He called a new soldier. Please to get to know me, Jung Hoon-young. He heard him. He bowed a little bit, saying my name, Kim Woo-jin. He continued and tried his best to complete the prison bunker. He should have had another team. But it seems that they are late. He was talking when suddenly a white car went to the crowd. Seeing the car, he said they were here. The Skulls people walked down from the car. Kim Woo-jin silently glanced at them. Then he asked for apology. But where the toilet was named, Jung Hoon-young. I said, the toilet, I was going to go here to guide me. In the toilet, the name Jung Hoon-young stood leaning on the wall. He saw Kim Woo-jin coming out, So he said that if we were the person we had to escort, he heard him say that. So you guys are the team that Park Yong-won talked about. He laughed softly at him and was about to go and talk more carefully. Then he walked and said that the next crowd did not know us on the same side, so they should not let them see us walk together in the Kim Woo-jin prison tunnel. Heard him say that, then asked him to tell me to go alone. He comforted and said don't worry that we will not go too far away. He will always have a secret to follow him. Anyway, the possibility of ambushing on the second floor, if you just slashed each other, then completing the dungeon will be very difficult. He saw that he was silent, and then continued not to worry. We know what we are doing. Just trust us and go in there. He heard that he said here, then turned to look at him, and then I will follow the good brothers, then you will come in first. If I will come in, I will be suspicious. He looked at him in and stood behind him and smiled slightly. His face shook the cunning thing that seemed more smooth than he thought. Light. The people have entered the prison. The notice shows that it is possible to go to the next floor to destroy the goblin that is hiding, to avoid clashing with the large flock that seems to be more adventurous. Jong Hoon-young's name continues to finish. It is not very difficult, so split it here and look for yourself. He pointed to Kim Woo-jin, and he seemed to go alone, so we will let someone go with him. A name behind immediately said the big brother, so I can go with him to give him Jinwook. Then he said loudly, now there is no time to spread the goblin as quickly as possible and go to the second floor. The crowd immediately divided into 3 groups and started moving. Jong Hoon-young's name turned slightly and nodded slightly. Kim Woo-jin saw that he nodded slightly in response. He smiled. Kim Woo-jin nodded with him when he glanced at the other. He looked at the skulls and thought so that the battle would start on the second floor. The name Matsumoto spoke up with the blonde man going beside me. Why don't you get Kim Woo-jin now and remember that he died? The blonde name immediately said that the hiring would protect him safely. And Kim Woo-jin ran away. The name Matsumoto heard that he meant he was going to say, he did not believe in our abilities, so he had to go here. The blonde guy heard him say that he said he didn't need to be sensitive to that. I didn't think that he thought I was just here to clean up Jong Hoon-young after the story. On the side of Jong Hoon-young's team, he was sitting at a tree and said that Kim Woo-jin was doing, and the black hair immediately reported that he was hunting orc. He looked quite poisonous to catch each child. Poisonous and nothing more. Without the name, Dong-hoon asked again, why do you have to worry too much? So the black-haired name said. The bald name next to him said the big brother thought that they could not handle a guy, not because everything was too simple, so I felt suspicious. Park Yong-won and Kim Ji-hoon are not the one who spend a lot of money so easy. Jinwook is still following him. Why are you going to go to him? We go with him, he will be more confident, and when he loses his guard, he will make him easier to eat porridge. Named Jong Hoon-young to stand up and say. After the discussion, the group of the name Jong Hoon-young moved. The black-haired guy looked around and said that he had just been here. But why did he run away? And Jong Hoon-young said that if he ran, there must be a trace. Based on the smell of blood, it is definitely here. But why does Jinwook not see? He looked at the beast on the ground and continued to know what was wrong. Something was not good. He felt around. Suddenly, there was a hand pointing back and panicked to the big brother there. In the distance, Jinwook is lying on a pool of blood. Kim Woo-jin is also located in a pool of unknown blood and death. The name Jong Hoon-young hurriedly asked to check Jinwook before the rest watched, while Malik recovered for Jinwook. The whole crowd immediately acted on other names, then pulled out the weapons and looked around. The name Min-shik ran to the name Jinwook when he was scared to open his eyes. Suddenly, Jinwook's name was very much blood. He felt so panicked in a panic, and then the wound in his neck was very heavy. Jin Ji-yu tried to say something, but he was covered by his neck to stop the wound that was constantly bleeding in his neck, and he could not stop bleeding if you tried to talk or stirred anywhere. Jin Ji-yu's name tries to point to the side. Seeing that the name Min-shik immediately looked to Kim Woo-jin's side. Then he bowed again and said that we handed him to Kim Ji-hoon to calculate after the network before the customer. The name Jong Hoon-young on the other side worriedly turned around and asked, why was there something Jinwook? The name Min-shik tried to treat the name Jinwook and raised his head to respond to him very critical, and then this momentum was dead. Big brother. The name Jong Hoon-young heard that. Then he thought what the hell happened clearly, that he knew the same side, so he could not have the other party to fight sneaking. Wait, he recalled the words of Kim Ji-hoon, which was related to the Saving Association, so be careful. Must be sure not to let anyone know this. He thought of here. He was shocked to open his eyes and thought that he would cover our mouths. The name Min. which panic shouted and shouted not to be too bloody. Suddenly, there was a dry skeleton from the ground to stand right behind him. Just the magic of my recovery. He felt the danger, immediately turned to look. The skeleton swings up. Fresh blood from his body immediately splashed out. Everything that happened so fast that he still felt the blood from the person he was flowing out. The bald head saw, then shouted at Kim Min-sik. The name Jong Hoon-young bite his teeth, and thought that he would create that wound for Jin-wook, because they wanted to handle our healer before they took the first healer, which means they are very experienced. Thinking, he turned to say to the bald head, I thought that Kim Ja-hoon tricked us, and I should have been more careful than the request. The dry skeletons crawled up and surrounded them. At the spot of the blonde skulls, you are saying, don't be too economical. Another name said these people know I handsome, so I just rushed in me. The blonde name heard, then waved it for sure, not because of your disgusting smell. Rather than the next time in the prison, you spray a little perfume a little bit. The other guy heard that, immediately raised his hand to smell and say how much I know how much money I cost to buy perfume. The blonde guy scolded this idiot how many times I said, then the nose of the monsters was very heard. Look at your fans. As long as I welcomed fans enthusiastically, there was no problem with the fierce beasts rushing to them. They widened their mouths, full of sharp teeth, and rushed too quickly, but being held by a king's hand tightly. The hare name lifts a high animal. His eyes were red. Then he used a force to tear the big beast in two halves. Another animal raised his claws and rushed out. When its claw is about to touch, then was beaten by a hair arrow. He slightly threw his hand when the beast's body fell to the ground and the other beast stopped. He glanced slightly to look at it. It stood still, bared his sharp teeth, and glanced at him. The light shone down through the foliage. Jong Hoon-young's name was full of blood, raised his head to look and said, The bastard, why you betrayed us. He was seriously injured and was leaning on a tree that looked at Kim Woo-jin. He looked at him and said, he said betraying him to death, and still refused to be honest. Looking at the players who only know how to use the power for the sake of themselves, so much that we are not surprised, but this greed has exceeded the limit. You used to say that the value of every human being was different, right? He heard him say about it. How could he curse the dog? Why is there a rescuer here that Kim Woo-jin is good, but both Park Yong-won and Kim Ji-hoon are interested in him? He said he wanted to keep his life for Kim Woo-jin to ask something named Jong Hoon-young, saying a blue hat that heard him say that if he was not killed, he would not enjoy the pleasure. You said this. He raised his scar full of scars and continued, so that the next time he could lack the person to hunt. The bald head pointed to the scars in his hand, and then surprised to say that he killed the block. This one of the three of them asked us to save the previous time. There are more and more requirements of this way, the more happy to kill with 3 children, but also the more a blessing to complete a dungeon. When he heard it, he said that everyone thought that everyone had the same price. And we only kill if people are at the right price, but they talk to each other without knowing that Kim Woo-jin hears everything. Kim Woo-jin recalled, took out his light and looked at him, and now he is quite curious. He saw that he was about to spend his life. He was scared to look. How much is your life? How much? His head fell to the ground and finished slashing. He turned to leave. In the forest of black knights covered everywhere, Kim Woo-jin took the sword to look at the goblin in front of him, saying that he escaped in the same place as in his previous life. We went to this dungeon. Now go down to the next floor. Do not let the skull comrades have to wait for him to talk and laugh softly. In the blink of an eye, the fresh blood crushed the notice that you have completed the first floor of the prison bunker. The blue light column flashed up to the top of the first floor. The blonde name of the skull group turned around and thought that Jong Hoon-young should have signal if he found the goblin. The name Matsumoto saw this surprising expression of him, immediately said this reaction. Then this is not your plan. The first floor was fulfilled completely, unexpectedly, seemed to have gone first to the second floor and wait to ambush us. Obviously, the skull group immediately ran as if flying towards the light column. The blonde has just run and thinks that they will guess their planning plan. Why are they betrayed first? Kim Woo-jin is now standing in front of a large door. He softly put his hand on the door and pushed it out. The notice is shifted to the second floor. At the house of Park Yong-won, most players buy a lot whenever preparing to go to the dungeon. Is there any problem why Park Yong-won asked his secretary and looked at the data in his hand and said he bought many test tubes, so I felt a bit strange. I know the skin of the skin of the skin, and the parts of many types of monsters are very high, but in the dungeon he comes, there is nothing worth anything. So I report it to you. City flooded with darkness. I hate this harsh world. for the second brother who was abandoned from birth and treated like an animal, then one reason to love this world is never to exist.